Dan McDonald, welcome to the Hungry People podcast. Thanks for joining me today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, AJ. What's up, bro?
Nothing much. Snowing outside.
Oh, really?
Pretty intense times to be raw foodist. Not really, but actually, if I just wanted to share because I know a lot of your viewers are probably going to see this video as well. And I wanted to just read the mission statement behind the Hungry People podcast, which is ran by both me and my co-host, Michael Patrick, who's not here today. Shout out to Michael Patrick. He's in Florida right now, soaking up the sun. But the mission of Hungry People is to entertain, educate, share, and connect with individuals and groups who are eager, passionate, and hungry to better themselves and enrich the lives of other people. And Dan, I have to say that when I read that, all I can think of is Dan McDonald.
Thank you.
And I'm just happy to actually make this happen. Actually, the number one question that I get is, when is Dan going to be on the podcast? From all the people who do watch, because they're pretty aware that I'm part of your group and that we talk somewhat. And I've kind of held off from asking just because, I don't know, I think it was my ego a little bit, just wanting it to go so well, or me be in the perfect spot to make it happen. But the other day you and I were talking and it just felt right. And I was like, this is a great time to ask. And now we're here.
Here we are. What's going on, AJ? Let me know what's up, dude.
Cool. Well, I wanted to ask you, I just had a small question for you. Is your full name Daniel? And do you prefer Dan, or do you have any kind of nicknames? Like, I know you have DTM, Life Regenerator. What do you prefer people call you usually?
I guess Dan is what I'm used to.
That's what you're used to.
Yeah, my full name is Daniel Allen McDonald.
Does anyone call you Daniel?
It's been a long time. My grandma and grandpa used to call me Danny. But pretty much everyone calls me Dan. I don't hear Daniel very often.
I was just curious because my full name is Andre. My first name is Andre, but everyone calls me AJ usually, except my mom and girlfriends usually call me Andre. So I wasn't aware if you had certain people calling you that or not. So yeah, let's just get right into it. I wanted to ask you, well, first I wanted to say that in 2018, it was the first time that DTM and I connected, and I was just in a really, really tough spot. And I was curious, Dan, do you remember that consult in 2018? Do you remember me calling you, or is that kind of, I know you have a lot of consults, so.
2018, I must have been in my little apartment. I remember a couple of the consults that we had when I was at the mansion with the pool out on the deck there, but that must have been more closer to 2020.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was when we started to have those cluster of interactions. That's when I was in a much like better place, and I wasn't coming to you with like this desperation. But I feel as though a real turning point in my life was in 2018 when I first reached out. And there's going to be a handful of people who actually don't know who you are for the podcast. So if you wouldn't mind doing an intro to who you are, where you're from, your name, your full name, and all that, just kind of giving everyone a foundation, that'd be awesome.
Okay. I am Daniel Allen McDonald the first. And I am, and even that's a little redundant. Yeah, I've been really getting kind of looped out from too much spiritual audios, and then it's just less and less of the ego, or whatever you want to call it, the conditioning, and just kind of letting the conditioning go and just being. And so that has brought a lot of harmony. You know, it's hard to understand, I think, unless you know, some of us listen to the spiritual stuff so we understand the concepts, but after we've listened to the concepts and we've had the trouble and we want to find a way, and we are more, you know, experiencing the grace, and the ability to let go and loosen up because we can see the tightness.
Right.
And so loosening up and letting go of the identification of even a personal self, and aligning more with the infinite self, and seeing that, all is one, even as all, this guy and the globalists and the conspiracy theorists and vaxxers and anti-vaxxers and anti-this and the polarities and the dualities and stuff. And as soon as you can the more and more you can release all that identification with the body and identify with the spirit, you see that everything is the spirit. And then there's less and less inner conflict and less, which, mirrors less and less outer conflict.
Do you think that is more of a experience or feeling versus versus like something you learn? Because for me, I had to feel what you're describing. I had to feel the oneness through experience and through fasting and different things. Whereas kind of like you can tell people about it, but they don't really, even if they intellectually kind of grasp it, I don't feel as though they get to experience it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's just varying degrees of frequency and various levels of desperation. Suffering, pain is a great catalyst, and long-term, experiencing of disharmony or disturbed energy from within, and you're looking for a way out. And of course, when you're younger, you try the drugs and the food and the money and the gambling and the sex and the porn, and the list goes on and on and on and on, and painkillers and my doctor, then you go from street drugs, then you're on pharmaceutical drugs, taking 4 different kinds of painkillers. But eventually you may have a good, you might be more intelligent in a way, intelligent meaning the inner intelligence, not necessarily the intellect, because the intellect can get you trapped, but the intelligence of something, there must be a way, to break free from this tightness or this pain. And then, for me, I guess like one large catalyst, of course, was living foods, raw living foods, which was just sort of like, it really gave me hope. There was definitely some past life energy there, because when I read that book,
The Essene Gospel of Peace, right?
Yeah. I was a little bit primed through it was weird. I was like kind of juicing every day because my parents bought me a juicer, but I was also like a drug addict and like off and on homeless, and then I'd be getting like jumbo jacks and a shot of wheatgrass, and then drinking beer and then smoking weed. But I did get introduced, interestingly enough, to, like the juicing. And that came out of like the bodybuilding thing, and so there was this health thing that was there. And the health thing started when the girlfriend broke up with me. I was a total meth junkie. And she went on meth with me for a few weeks, but then she was like, she had more brains about her and she was nowhere near the addicted personality that I was. And me and my buddies, we all got just totally strung out. And she was like this stupid, and then she met another dude, and then she was gone. But then I went to the gym because I had to do something. I was how it is when you just got to do something. I can't stand my own,
Right.
So because you think I'm going to get my girl back or whatever, and that didn't work. But I did get interested in lifting weights, and that happened at 19 years of age when she broke up with me.
Were you able to like shift from there and start to take health like more serious, or now did you have more direction because of that, because you had an outlet?
I had an outlet, and of course I'm reading the magazines and tuna fish and beef and all that stuff. Muscles and Fitness is where I was getting my health information. But then my parents bought me a juicer. Then I saw some books on juicing, and we could name the whole list. But then I kind of got into it, and started moving in the vegetarian, organic kind of path.
Hmm.
So I think there was an interesting priming, but it never had hit me, you know, really the way, because I would just all over the place. I was all over. I'm sure everyone can understand that. But
well, what's interesting about you being all over the place, I feel as though we have similar personalities, at least to a degree. And I feel as though you're like an all or nothing person, but to hear you're doing like the drugs and the wheatgrass, that's kind of like fascinating to me.
yeah, I didn't have any direction, and I had a lot of addictions, and there was a lot of pain. And of course, you know, the pain body is always there until we can. Here I am, finally, you know, almost 48. I'm finally beginning to have the tools, the centeredness, the environment, the consciousness to really be there with this process of, you know, it's I don't know if you're excavating or simply allowing it to dissolve by newer, a more expanded understanding, you know, of the pain body. It's really hard to kind of describe that or even understand it, because you can just, as you evolve in your consciousness and you become more of the in tune and in alignment with the more divine, long-term, eternal self, the infinite part of all of us, you just have more space to look at, oh, Dan McDonald is really screwed up. Oh, well, you know, do I need to go out drinking? Do I need to go smoke? But when you don't have that same expansion, you're like, oh, this hurts and it sucks, and you don't have the tools and you don't have the expanded viewpoint of, oh, this is a crappy day, you know, I'll just try to get some to bed early tonight and tomorrow it'll be fine. When you're less mature, you're like, there's that pain. You got to kill it, kill the pain.
You got to react. You have to like change it right now because you're worried something bad's going to happen. Versus when you get a little more mature, you can like step back and see it from like a higher point of view and make a more reasonable decision on how to go about it. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
And you learn through wisdom that, okay, the drinking, that doesn't work. The smoking, the drugs, any of it, the food, and then you get to the point where you're like, you know, I might as well just sit here with this. You know, just take a nap or take a walk or just, you know, just get through the day anyways, you know, just do what needs to be done. And there's the pain and whatever it is, it's manifesting itself physically or it's more emotional. You can just sit there with it like, oh, I'm in a very funky state. And you're just witnessing it, but you still have 2 consults and an interview, and, you know, you just try to go on throughout the day. And, you know, women kind of have to learn that more than men a lot of times, because they're like, look, there's a kid there. It's like a little 6-month-old kid. You don't get to really take a day off. You don't get to escape. You can't. It's going to make things worse. So women, a lot of times when there's children involved, they have to wake up real quick. Where the guys, we can just kind of dilly-dally. Sometimes guys wake up from the kids too, but the woman really has that opportunity to have to mature up and just learn to deal with stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild to see what some of these women have to handle, because they do have that every kind of moment. They don't have a moment to themselves anymore when they have this child. And the fact that they can't even breathe to do the normal thing, at least with the guys, right? We get to, in a lot of cases, go to work, or we get to go, you know, work out with our buddies or something to kind of decompress. And this is a huge problem that I'm seeing not only in the health area, but just even in my immediate life, that I feel as though it's great to support the people around you and just take a little bit of that burden just so they can breathe for, you know, an extra second. And I try to emulate what my mom has done, because my mom has been able to do that for me. You know, when I was sick, Dan, and when I started talking with you, she gave me all the support and time to try to figure this whole green juice food thing out. And then, you know, all I want to do is give that back to her. And I feel as though a lot of women, a lot of people in general are just going through that. And just going off of what you said about feeling uncomfortable in the moment type of thing, do you see it more as a physical or emotional type of challenge? And what I mean is, let's say someone has some severe adrenal type dysfunction, or they have like a past of traumas. Is it really individual based, or are some people, like, if they address the health, they can overcome that kind of tendency? Or is it most people, they have to like go towards the emotion?
So you're kind of asking, how do the different diseases manifest?
Yeah, well, just for that person starting off that maybe doesn't even connect their nervousness or anxiety around health or deeper emotion. And they might just think, hey, I'm just an anxious person, when really they might be able to go about addressing that in a healthier way.
Well, that just reminds me kind of the almost the unconscious brain stem where all the information is stored. We'll leave the spiritual out of it for now, but I've had more and more consults where it's beginning to become aware that, you know, there's like spiritual karma as well. But in this time, you know, it starts in utero, you know. It started back with the first single-celled amoeba, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, where do you really start? Then you know, you track back and you're like, oh, you know, you're just this human blob, and it's like massive amounts of ingrained genetic over and over repetitive patterns, and then you're all of a sudden, you know, you just because your parents, you know, got together and did what all species do, you know, and then made you. So, but really, when you are talking more about like the manifestations of physical ailments and genetic, you know, activations, you know, you're talking about like your grandmother, you know, because you were an egg in your grandmother, you know. And her lifestyle and her habits and her thoughts and her energy fields and her genetic expressions began to activate codes that were already going to become manifested in you. So just sometimes knowing that is you know, it's the pros and cons. Like my grandma lived to be like 92 or something. She ate like crap and took hella drugs, but she had a good constitution. But my whole family also was like, there was a lot of problems, you know. I won't go into it now, but in other words, you know, what your grandma was doing is now manifesting in you, you know. So a lot of things say, you know, it runs in my family or whatever. This runs in my family, that runs in my family. Usually what it is fried chicken runs in my family. Right. Diabetes runs in my family, obesity, heart attacks, and all that stuff. No, fried chicken and no exercise, you know, runs in your family. You know what I'm saying? Sure. So, but when you can get an opportunity to see that whatever it was that your grandma was doing, you know, began to activate genetic potential within you and create your brainstem and your nervous system and your glandular potential and the growth and the size and the productivity of all your glands and stuff, you know, it kind of makes you want to say, hey, moms and dads, why don't you do your grandchildren a favor and get your shit together before you go and start bumping and grinding with the chick from down the street. But, you know, so it's just the lower level animal consciousness that most of us are born out of, instead of a conscious and volitional intent to create super healthy humans. No one ever thinks of that. You would think that somebody would think of it like, hey, I got an idea. Let's get our finances together. Let's get our nervous systems together. Let's get on an even keel. We'll be ready for whatever happens. We'll make this work. We'll be a solid foundation.
Have you seen people do that? Have you seen people take it that seriously to where they work and to make the super babies that you talk about?
I don't know anybody. I know they're out there. But that's always been a part of my little message, is just to plant those seeds. I do hope to do some kind of real program before I leave this planet as one of my more serious legacy pieces, one on fasting and one on how to create super children. I'm just still in the middle of like developing the knowledge and the experience, but the essence is pretty much there. It's the essence of purity, which is missed. So I've never really known anybody, but I know they're out there. And
right.
Anyone feel bad, but it's amazing what we could do if we were more conscious about the creation of children. But it takes patience, consciousness, you know, centeredness, and that's pretty rare. We're kind of like, oh, here's this chick, let's go have some pizza, you know, boom, and then, oh, I'm pregnant, and you're like, okay, well, you want to do this? I guess I could get a job, you know. And then it's like, oh shit, you're a little behind the curveball there, buddy. You know, so I mean, I did the same thing, but nobody was ever, you know, but so maybe we can get some of the younger people to start thinking of that, and they can put that on their vision board, like conscious child rearing instead of accidental.
I think that's more likely than ever before, just because people do have more information, but also I do think the consciousness is rising a little bit in terms of what's going on with our children. I mean, the fact that you have children that are obese with diabetes and having all of these heart issues, it's a tragedy. And I remember when you were in that house in Hawaii and you were making all this food for Tori and Wolfgang. I don't know who they are, but you would always say like you're trying to like fully nourish them and their child. You know, how often do people get that support when really it's kind of like they're holding everything together with a rubber band, you know, finances and stuff. And then just going off what you said, I feel as though a big part of it is when people are having children, the pairing sometimes is not the best support system. You know, you have two kind of different personalities that kind of grind against each other and make it all a little more difficult. And do you have any advice for the people out there who are looking to one day have a child, and either how to, you know, get into their own strength or what to keep in mind when finding a partner or thinking about kids? Because I feel as though that's something that really does need to have a little more light shined onto it.
Well, the first thing is to be prepared for the drug-like effects of a new relationship to wear off. Mm. That doesn't mean there can't be deeper intimacy and communication and connection and appreciation, but we all want, a lot of times relationships are, we want that euphoric drug-like effect, which is you don't see anything wrong with them. They don't see anything wrong with you. You are doped up. You're not seeing any red flags. And you finally found the one that's going to make you happy forevermore. My other half, twin flame, blah, 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 blah. You know, I mean, everyone's going to be pissed because they're like, no, I want to keep the dream alive. But it's like, right. You are the one you're looking for. Fall in love with yourself, and then you will be a conscientious person that can say, you're smart, you're beautiful, you're solid, you got your stuff together, you're not on drugs. You know, we line up with like, should we get the shots or not get the shots? You know, I try to tell my wife, no shots. You know, that was how I first got involved in the whole no shot thing. That was 25 years ago. Yeah. My daughter's almost 20. I read a couple of books on children and stuff like that. And then I read a couple of books on, you know, on the shots. And I tried to tell her, no, don't. I got it right away, man. I was one of those dudes. I was anti-shot from the beginning. I know we can't put that up on YouTube, but I didn't say the word, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I would never. And,
well, it's just amazing. It goes to show how much freedom we're lacking. The fact that we can't just say that, we can't share our opinion, whether it's disagreed or agreed with the mainstream.
Well, it's also indicative for those who have one brain cell left. If you can't say it, that's what you need to know. It's the information you're allowed to share. That's the information you need to know.
Right.
And so, but you have to have a certain level of sophistication. So it's like, okay, I can't know about that. We can't talk about that. That's against community guidelines. Okay, I'm going to go read a goddamn encyclopedia on those three things that I'm not allowed to know anything about. But the world is, you know, it's waking up. It's cool. Everybody's cool, and it's all good. Yeah, you got to be real positive. I mean, I'm trying to be more positive about it all, but you know, it's just
But it could be challenging because you're seeing all the negative effects that are happening as a result of people only using that one brain cell when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, which there's some people that are just more in tune with, again, the intelligence, and more people that are going to be susceptible to the intellect. The intelligence is moment by moment awake, feeling and making decisions based on the new information in the moment. Whereas the intellect is like, this is what I'm going to do, and in 20 years I'm going to do that, and in 50 years you believe it's going to be true, but it's not true. You know, it's like the intelligence is, because at one moment it might be appropriate to make that choice, and then a year later it might not be the appropriate choice anymore, and you have to stay in tune with the divine guidance system, your GPS.
You have to be able to pivot too. Like a lot of people are like, as soon as they're broken out of their little shell, they don't know how to function and maneuver without that. And I think you're a good example of that, because you had pretty much all the reason in the world to stay in paradise, but with everything going on in Hawaii, you're like, all right, maybe I need to entertain some other places.
And you know what I learned also is that as awesome as Hawaii is, a little overcrowded at this point, but wherever I go, you know, there I can do the work that matters, because it doesn't matter if you're in a cave, everybody runs away, and you know, they throw, you know, but then guess what? You bring all of your stuff in your mind, you bring all the things, you bring it all with you. So you might as well just start right where you are. Now, there are certain cases where you may be like, I talk to people all the time, and they're like 40 or 50 somethings living at home with their parents again. And it's one thing to kind of take care of your parents. It's another thing living there just because you kind of haven't been able to break free yet from that contact. So there's a lot of
independence is really important to take control of your kind of destiny.
Like it's, you know, some people live at home with their parents, they care for their parents, you know, it's hard, but at least it's not like a toxic environment. So it's like, if there is a toxic environment, so there's two ways to do it. Either leave the toxic environment or change yourself so profoundly from within that you change those around you. Anyone, anywhere. I had a consult about this yesterday. Like, okay, you can't leave your situation, but you can change the way you look at it. You can reframe it. You can looking for things to be grateful for. You can forgive others. It's usually our own little tiny, no, but we can mature, we can evolve, we can let go, we can forgive, we can find peace and ease no matter what. It's inside of us. It's already there. Harmony is already there. It's a matter of, you know, can you forgive? And you got to ask yourself the question. It's like, well, then you realize I don't really want to because I love hating that SOB. And then you see you're milking it, you know?
Right. Well, I'm sure you see that all the time with the consults, that people that are resistant to that are the people who aren't getting any healthier or recovering from whatever they're going through.
Yeah, because it's really a matter of just untwisting, untying, letting go, releasing, because what's in there, perfect health, is inside of everyone. It's just that we, you know, the food is kind of like how we deal with, or the drugs, or all the 9,000 other things. I mean, why are you tired and why do you need to drink coffee? You know what I'm saying? Because, and then they make up all this stuff. It's like, oh, here's the benefits of cocaine, or, you know, the benefits of all these other things that we get addicted to, the benefits of wine. It's kind of like, well, you know, I mean, a glass of wine in 6 months is one thing, but wine and alcohol kind of puts holes in your brain and messes up your liver. And, you know, everything in moderation is okay. But I guess I just speak from, you know, well, that's not true, but most, you know, yogis or advanced spiritual people kind of end up usually letting go of a lot of that stuff. But there is no hard and fast rule to any of it. But when we're talking like, you know, young and middle-aged people that are just trying to be healthy, stay out of the hospital, and have energy every day so they can function and raise their families and pay bills. So just basic general, consistent health.
Mm-hmm.
Are some things there. If you don't give a crap, then don't listen to me. Do your
Right.
thing.
Yeah. That's what I always say, especially if you feel good or you don't want to change, like I have nothing to say to you. And I think that that's another similarity we have where like I don't care what other people eat or do. And I was listening to other interviews with you this week, and that was kind of your stance too. And I feel like that's refreshing because I was stuck up in the raw 204, carb up, that's the only possible way, or all of these ways. They all claim that they're the only way, yet there's plenty of people doing other things that are even healthier than these people kind of claiming that. And I feel as though that's one of the other reasons why we kind of get along pretty well, is because you just let people be.
I just want to be left alone. Trying to do this little thing, and I've seen it all, and it's all the drama, but food is a modulator a lot of times. I don't think, honestly, I don't really believe there's anybody, and I've studied just as much carnivore stuff as I have vegetarian stuff,
Me too.
And, nobody knows what the hell they're talking about, including myself. Nobody knows. It just seems like you put it in and it comes out the other end.
Right.
Odd time later, something's going on in there, and everyone's so sure of themselves. But have you been down inside your gut and remember 100 years ago, what was science is now considered witchcraft, voodoo, the lowest levels of ignorance possible, Yeah. And so in 100 years, what is it that we're going to know? I think it's going to have something to do with light. So it's all very humbling.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it can make having serious conversations like this or any other thing, there's no way to really describe anything. You can experience things, and the real truth cannot be expressed in words. And so one day the master says one thing, the next day he seems to say the exact opposite. But it has to do with the crowd, the context of the question, the overall consciousness of the group. It has to do with historical timelines. And that's why when everyone's arguing about religion and stuff, I don't really get involved. I get accused of being this new age thing. And I'm like, I don't do new age. I do the eternal.
Yeah. It's kind of like a lose-lose, even engaging in that. And what's funny is I feel as though when people think they finally figured it out, they get humbled again. You get your ass kicked a little bit. That's where I've been.
So once you start getting to be more advanced and more non-linear realms of consciousness, it's you kind of want to be a help, and it's kind of like you also want to pay your bills, so you got to say something. I mean, that's where I'm at really right now. It's like I'm happy to just shut up and say nothing, but then I noticed that there's no money there to pay for the roof, and I like the roof, and so because it's good. I've been out on the street way too many years than I care to count. I don't want to live in a van, but I will. I mean, I'm just saying, so what do I say to people to help them? But really, all of the problems go away if you're willing to just let them go away.
Right.
But you're a very sophisticated meditator and you're honest. You'll be like, oh, I'm doing this to myself. I don't want to let go of my shame, my anxiety, my cancer, my obesity. It's mine.
Right.
And so there's a lot of protective mechanisms. There's food as modulation, drugs as modulating the brain, mind. And so what we're trying to do is stay modulated, but that's why I kind of like what I call the spiritual path, because the harmony, the peace, the love is already there. Health is already there. It's all because health is the byproduct of allowing the energy of life to be, to allow yourself to be yourself, including all of the stuff, which is the subconscious, which is where we kind of started with all this, all the programs. from childhood. And, you know, it depends on where you want to start. You want to start with you being an egg and grandma? Do you want to start at conception when your dad was hitting your mom and she was, you know, she was having like fear and, you know, molecules running through her bloodstream while you're formulating in there. And it's like those fear molecules are creating biological reactions on your nervous system, preparing you for the fearful world, right? Or was your mother lovingly nurtured by your father, no stress? She stayed at home and just ate and just, you know, one baby is the mom works all the way up until the very end. And then that baby is like a premature 2 months, super small baby. Then the next time she says, oh, screw it, I'm going to sit at home and I'm going to eat and just incubate the baby, right? And then this baby's full weight, carried to term a little longer. You know, the preemie was like 4 pounds, 2 ounces. Now this baby is like 7 pounds, 8 pounds, just fully grown little Eskimo baby. So you can see the difference between the biological, you know, biochemistry of the mom and the development of the fetus, which then, why is one child one way and one child the other? It's not hard and fast because there's also spiritual and non-linear aspects to this soul wanting to be born into this family for these purposes of the universal consciousness and its plan, you know? And so really the mind is useful, but is usually for most people the enemy. Standing mind, and what you can do is unravel a lot of that anxiety or tension or fear or traumas, and you can recontextualize things, and you can begin the slow and steady process. If you're not persistent and you're not patient, forget about it. Just quit now, you're drug addict, and just eat yourself to death. And then at 67, have a heart attack, you know, 75 pounds overweight and can barely climb a flight of stairs.
Sure. It may take more than 2 or 3 days to actually start to feel well. A lot of people just want it like right now. And like looking back, you know how you brought up the programming, how we kind of either have been programmed or we self-program ourselves. I remember one of my earliest memories was I was like 4 or 5, and my mom would feed us McDonald's, and my dad would always be like, you got to eat healthy. But I was addicted to that McDonald's. Like I was really addicted, but I couldn't help but hear my dad say vegetables and fish and whatever. You guys got to eat less Reese's Pieces. And I remember driving. I remember where I was even. I wasn't driving, but I was in the car. And I thought to myself, hey, if I live till I'm 30, it's worth it. I want to eat this way. And then as I approached my 20s, I noticed my health was started to decline, almost like it was preparing me, you know, for my way out at 30, when really I had to like finally like put the brakes on that, look at that and realize, how do I work my way out of this? Because I kind of set myself up.
But thankfully you had both of the programs. You had kind of McDonald's program, but then you had your dad. So then they're both there. And then later on, you're able to, you know, sort of garner from either one of those. You can still continue to eat like crap, or you can go your dad's little seeds that he planted. And that's in certain ways, I'm very blessed because my dad, you know, as funky as some of the stuff was, there was some other cool stuff that he did and believed. He was like a hippie. And one thing that always sticks out is that there was no skin color bull crap in my house. Now it's all saved these days, but my dad never said the N-word. It was no about no skin color or nothing. There was no racism. That's one thing I'm very grateful to my dad for. There's a few things I wish he would have done different, but I forgave everyone. I forgive my mom. I forgive my dad. I forgive all my ancestors. And what I'm trying now is say, hey, I'm the one who's strong enough to change. I can transform this pain body. I've taken this pain body and I've searched for truth, and I've found a lot of truth, and now I seek the highest truth. And so I'm honoring the pain of 1,000 generations as a blessing to get me to, and then I'm just a lucky soul to kind of have found what I found. The gospel of peace was a big game changer when I went on the raw foods, because before that I was all over the place. And then it just gave me something, because it just hit me so hard. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
Raw and fasting. And that's what it was decided for me that day, that was the route. That was 21 years ago. And
that book highlights some of the things you were experiencing, I think, with it gives the example of the men who really were addicted to the sex or the drugs or the porn or whatever it was. And when they were able to actually purge a little bit and release some of that buildup, they finally felt free from it. And a lot of people are really resistant to that because it's kind of the only thing they feel like they have. The only thing I have is that TV show at night or that beer at the end of the day. And you think that without it, you can't cope. But the thing is, you probably won't be able to cope, but you'll change what you do so that you're freed from that. And that was been my experience when I finally hit that wall of thinking I'm dependent upon this thing and it's removed from me. It's like, wow, I didn't even realize how much freedom was there and how trapped and imprisoned I really was.
Yeah. And especially if you're like me, and freedom is your virtue. Everyone has their virtue.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what you kind of base your, okay, like for some people it might be love, you know what I mean? Like, which is another great virtue, but, you know, or peace or harmony or compassion. And
I think mine is peace.
Yeah. And I love peace too, you know, which is, you know, and it is, peace arises from the harmony, you know. And peace is like a frequency, you know, that happens when the mind is still really in duality. It's the beyond duality. So the polarities, what are we going to do about the world? How are we going to fix it? It's like, there's nothing wrong with the world. What do you mean? The globalists, they're going to come get us. It's like,
right.
This is the perfect world. And so as soon as you get more and more harmonized and perfected within yourself, you're the one that actually saves the world in that sense. There's no world to fix, but it's only coming from within, and how much you identify with either with the body. I like the way, you know, Jesus, I don't think people understood, but the Son of Man, or the body, and then the Son of God, you know? And so the Son of Man is sacrificed on the cross and given up so that you can become the Son of God and live in the peace, you know? And then of course that goes beyond the intellectualism of most religions. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying religion is bad. Religion is great until it no longer is serving you. Then you have to let it go. It may keep you from robbing banks, hurting people. It may help you to develop a relationship and move towards Christ consciousness. But at some point, the religion and its concepts and its mentalization, intellectualism, if someone else doesn't see things intellectually like you do, then you are the arbiter of truth and they go to hell and you go to heaven.
It's the same as the diet thing that we talked about just now.
Same as the diet thing, dude. There's people that are eating all kinds of stuff, man. And then all you have is this concept. And then you can say to your people, like, you know, I do this thing with the live foods and I've really refined it. It's a great opportunity for me to look at myself and look at food. And then I found this way where if I eat, I can find more calmness and more centeredness because of what the yogis have been talking about for 10,000 years, which is certain types of foods affect the brain, certain types of compartments, and some foods are more stimulating than others. And you can have more roller coasters. Some are more obstructing, where you're covering over like the things you need to look at and feel. And so, you know, I've just, at this point, you know, good knowledge of the diet is what is your intention? So what I've had to do as a skinny little ectomorph, ex-drug addict, like nervous system tighter than tight, you know, not like really afraid or like severe anxiety, but just more subtle, which is sometimes even harder. The subtle, you're like, when you're like, nothing's wrong with my life, you know, but there's still at ease. And there was something you said earlier, you know, I call it the chasm, but it's like going from being strung out on ice cream or crack or heroin or alcohol. It's like there's this chasm, you know, with heroin, it's like a few weeks. With meth, like a few weeks. With coffee, it's only a few days, you know? But the bio memories are still there until you completely detoxify them out. One thing you can do, one thing about water fasting is that you detoxify all the sexual cords, you detoxify all the parasites, you detoxify the entities and the energies, which then manifests as parasites and other types of, you know, mental and emotional energies. So in other words, like the detoxification, and from what I've seen in people and in my own experience, it's very much helpful. But what happens is in the diet world, nobody cleans out the old wineskin. And so they put new wine into old wineskins. They try this new diet before they detoxified the last one. And so everybody's just always in this tumultuous mess. And so, you know, the fasting and the detox and the centeredness of mono meals or whatever, simple, plain ass food, like this isn't very tasty. Yeah, but it'll keep you alive and it feeds your brain and your microbes and then you're centered. Well, centered, who wants that? You know, it's like,
well, you actually have that like peace of mind instead of this just overstimulation like we usually are used to.
It's sometimes it's not peace of mind though. Sometimes I'm feeling things that I've been burying for 37 years with alcohol, food, drugs, sex, and now I see some idiot on YouTube, Life Regenerator, talking about purification and getting sober, which I know I need to do.
I know you did the 40 days on water. Were you experiencing, because you said it was kind of like you had no fear and it was almost kind of smooth. Would you say that you were experiencing things like detoxing old stuff? And what I mean by that is when I was on day 30 of a juice fast, I just started craving like McDonald's burgers and Burger King and all these things I ate as a child. And it was hard for me to say if it was me actually eliminating some of the stuff that was like caked in from the past and it was coming up in my mind, or was I just so hungry that I wanted to eat that stuff? Did you have any of those experiences?
Many, and many, many strange dreams. And I feel like it is those biomemories re-entering the bloodstream to be detoxified that will bring up all of your different cravings.
It was almost as though you're having thoughts that you wouldn't have, like you wouldn't go down that road of thinking about something. It's almost as if the thought is penetrating your mind.
I think we do not have any clue about how deeply embedded these food toxins, drug toxins, synthetic chemical toxins, emotional toxins, resentments as a toxin in the brain. That's one thing I saw towards the latter part of the fast, was just my brain detoxifying from resentments that I held unconsciously. Not, you know, of course, meth detoxification, alcohol detoxification, food is like a phantasmagoria. You're like over there watching Martha Stewart make macaroni and cheese with bacon in it. And you're just like, you know, so yeah, it's like, you know, but in the end, it all does clear out and there's an emptiness and a space. And then of course it just keeps going and going. And I didn't quite get all the way.
But it was still one of the most remarkable things that you've probably ever experienced.
I mean, it was pretty cool, man. There was quite a few intense experiences, psychic powers beyond, you can just read everyone's mind, you know? And they know that you know what they're thinking, but because once your energy field is clear, I mean, we're all just pure energy. Your thoughts are pure energy, and we are way more aware than what we think we are. But when you get that clean and that clear towards the latter part of a long water fast, I mean, the thought field is just thoughts are things, and thoughts are a frequency energy that just transmit. You can go all the way around to China and back, around the whole, the super mind, but when you're in a room with somebody, you're just right there. It's not even just about body language. It's literally the emanations of their thoughts. And you're so sensitive through fasting that you're picking up on it. And you know that it's not your thoughts, because you never even had any thoughts close to that. And so that was one of the phenomenon that was very interesting. And
you don't even have to say a word. It's like, it's just penetrating other people as well. Like they can pick up on something where this guy is like, there's something special about him, or there's some kind of frequency or energy like you're talking about.
Well, it shows you that you want to be clean with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Because you know that, which reminds me, I've still got plenty of work to do, especially these goddamn yoga classes. Yeah, but I don't think anything wrong or bad. I just think,
no, of course,
I frame it in the context of God really knew what he was doing when he put the woman,
Right. Yeah. There's nothing like a beautiful woman.
Not to a dude, who identifies as the male.
Right.
Transcend all that, which can happen, then you're not as drawn to it. But
what makes it tricky is with the drugs and alcohol, if you come to a point, you could just be like, nope, done with that. Like you can cut it out of your life because it's not as essential compared to with the food trip. That's a real trip. And then, the relationship trip, it's like, there's a certain amount of peace that comes from being on your own and alone. But there's also sometimes just the hugest rewards in relationships, whether that's romantic or family or whatnot. So you kind of it's hard to separate yourself completely versus the past of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, that's why kind of like food and sex, because the alcohol is making you do stupid stuff. You can't lie about that. Relationship thing, it'll make you do stupid stuff, but some good things can come out of it, especially if you're really conscious and can communicate. And you can be really honest. It's very difficult to find that, I've found.
Yeah.
You all have such programs. The woman sees things so much more differently than the man brain.
Right.
And so other women, they might have had like 4 brothers or something, and they are just much more able to, I know how men think, you know what I mean? And then I had 4 sisters, and I have no clue how men think, and I want you to be like this, and here's my emotions, they're the most important thing, and all this. So it depends on, it can be definitely difficult, but if 2 people are willing to, I think the ultimate way to make a relationship work is to realize that the other person is the steward of your sovereignty. They're making sure that you are staying you, that you doing what makes you happy, and if that still involves me, great. If not, maybe you need to go do something else or find somebody else or whatever, but see what you're trying, what most of us do is like, I'm going to extract. I need to extract this to fulfill my emptiness. But as you become more expanded, you're like, wait a minute, I'm like, cool, I can date myself. I got essential oil, Morocco method.
Well, Dan, that's exactly what's always happened to me. When I feel as though I want like a girlfriend really badly is always when I'm kind of like a mess in my own life. And it's almost as if I want something to like latch onto. But as soon as I start to I get my health in order, get my finances in order, I'm feeling good and strong, and I don't need anyone. That's when I finally get the attention. It's so funny how that works.
Well, that's when you, especially like when you accomplish your goals or when you're really clean and bright. The highest, one of the highest times in my life was after the water fast. I was clean, I was successful, my business was doing great.
Yeah.
Single, had a new apartment, I was just, I was on point. And then you emanate. And then so when you're coming out of like a lack,
Yeah.
oh, I want somebody, then they can feel that, but it's like what you would hope to find is two people kind of run into each other overflowing, and then learn to keep that overflowing by becoming the steward of their sovereignty and their individualism and their happiness. You're not responsible for their happiness, but you're kind of checking in with them. Hey, are you doing what you want to do?
Right.
Instead of what I want to do. Like, that's why these dudes, the wife and then the balls go right in there and do what I say. And then he's like coddling over, because that was the programs and programs and programs. And so can we break out of those? Like, within a marriage, you can break through. Within a new relationship, you can break through. You can break through before you even find somebody and say, I ain't settling. We're going to have these breakthrough, higher consciousness, honesty, real stuff, instead of this fairy tale that we've been sold, which is kind of like how to manage and maintain a society. Now they're ruining it even more with all their weird stuff that they're doing, because they want to destroy the population. So it goes back to a lot of abortions. It goes back to a lot of chemicals, a lot of reproductive diminishment in different types of medical procedures. One that's going on right now, one that has been going on for decades. And people are confused. And so they want to take away that nuclear family, man, woman, children, and the man and the woman and like 4 kids or 6 kids or whatever, nobody wants that anymore, but now everybody's more like, let's have 2, maybe 3, or something like that. But
a lot of people aren't even able to have kids because of the current health state. People are really kind of challenged in all areas. I'm amazed at all the people who feel awful and still hold it together for so long. They still get a house, they work a job. They're miserable, but I couldn't even imagine being that unhealthy and miserable and kind of going about things the way they do. It's kind of amazing. It's almost as if you go to like a marathon and you have this person who's like extremely unhealthy and overweight, but they still get it done. So it's kind of commendable in some ways.
Yeah, humans are strong. Unfortunately, health doesn't get a no, it gets none.
Yeah.
Because those that kind of control, the control is the word. They want to control society. They want to control the media. They want to control the medicine. They want to control the food supply. They want to control, the military. And they don't want it to get too, expanded.
Sure.
Because a healthy, free human being, is how do we control them? They don't need anything from us.
Yeah.
And so there's been this kind of this sickness consciousness promoted throughout society, where they have all these, it's like sickness for profit under the guise of philanthropical, here's this free medicine on the front end, and then you pay us. But what people don't realize is that you just got, exposed to chemicals that are going to disrupt your health. And now you're going to need more chemicals to manage and maintain the symptoms. But going to the root of the problem on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual planes is not exactly the human being's strong suit. I get it. We all look for the quick fix, the short route, the easy way. Then you grow up and you realize there is no easy way. If I'm going to do this, everybody's looking for an easy way to win an Olympic gold medal, and there is no easy way. It's called training, the fundamentals over and over again, discipline, focus, intention.
Yeah.
That's what, I'm almost 50 and I'm just beginning to learn how to focus. and concentrate. I can't believe no one taught me that, you know?
Yeah. Well, one of the ways that you kind of like one of your pillars is this life force retention, right? Like we've spoken about it, and I would love to know a little more about how important do you think it is for us to retain that life force? Because a lot of people are just spilling their seed all over the place. And I know a lot of guys my age, they're almost like proud that they'll do it 3 times a day. And you talk with a lot of people, a lot of young men, and you probably see this. I think you've mentioned it. You see it all the time. What kind of negative repercussions are there for the people who don't take it serious?
The list goes on and on.
Like, do you think this is comparable to like diet and lifestyle and fitness? Do you think it's an important pillar in the spoke? Like, is it an important spoke on the wheel?
I mean,
because I know they go with fasting hand in hand. Like, I can't do the fasting of any sort if I'm not focusing on that sexual energy retention.
Yeah, because that is the creative life force. So again, you come back to, you can't really say one way or the other. There's one right way. Because you can be married and have self-realization and enlightenment, you know, but that's a real tricky subject. But, you know, if you want to get something done, you want to preserve that creative life fluid. It's a golden oil that runs from the testicles up the spine and into the brain and feeds the glands in the brain. And so if that fluid is coming out the end of your penis, it's draining all the ojos out of your brain, you know? So it feels good for like 10 or 15 seconds. Your woman likes it. It means something in her unconscious, you know?
Right. Well, I absolutely love sex and making love, but I feel as though with the women, it's almost as if they love it and they want it and need it more. Just from my experience of being able to go a certain amount of time without spilling my seed. Do you find that, have you found something similar, or is it just so individual?
I mean, dude, we're the positive pole. So we fill up, we go to work, we go hunt. Our battery gets charged up, you know, so we're emanating, we're the positive pole, right? And we're just filled with light, you know, and filled with energy and filled with power and filled with strength, you know. She is just the open womb. So you're in there and just boom, you're just pounding her full of, you know, of just light. And so she's just being filled, and then you just, and then you're like, oh, and then all that just is just. Now the dudes with their big egos are like, not me, bro, I just do it all day. But then you really look and examine their life, and they're not really getting much done. They might have a nice job and doing a good job raising their kids, but you know, Tom Cruise, you know, he knows about that, the celibacy. I have had a lot of friends and inside information from dudes and their secrets on how they manage to keep plugging along and doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And I talked about this. I don't know if you saw the one with Ted.
Yeah, I did. That was a great interview.
Yeah. There's just, at the very end, I talked about the various levels. So there is continence where you're being intimate with your woman 3, 4, 5, 10 times a day. I mean, if the woman can get it through her mind, because something about her subconscious, what do you mean you don't want to give it to me? Just put it on my back.
They get upset, or I feel as though maybe they're a little insecure because they feel like they're not, you know, maybe feeling attractive enough to make you want to spill over.
It's very subconscious. But I have known some women that were able to pierce that and understand where I was coming from. Sure. So they give me a hard time because they knew that, like, I need this, you know, but let's make this, you know, a good relationship and have intimacy and a bond. And it's a beautiful thing, you know, but listen, I really got to keep my fluid, you know, just because that's what I've learned really works for me after 21 years of looking at this thing. you know.
Sure. And then outside of the bedroom, you can also just be you can participate more in your daily reality.
You know, it just makes you more vigorous, because that's what you're here. That's what your body is here to do. If you want your body to last a long time, be continent, be celibate, you know. If that's not your concern, and you know, you're fine with whatever, and you know, you're less engaged in some kind of intentional living, you're just like, I'm just let it all unfold as it should, you know, and I'm just going to make love to my wife and whatever, a month or once a week or however many times. So there's continence, then there's celibacy, and then there's sort of purity, or what is referred to as brahmacharya, which is, you know, everything is for God, you know. And so you can choose, but it just, I think what I'd like to share is just to be more conscientious about it. I've read tons of books on it, so I'm more like convinced that the both sides of the argument.
Right.
And you know, I fall on the side of like preserve your fluid, and then my experience over 21 years has verified that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And just get more done when there's no seed being lost.
I've actually had old injuries come up if I've gone for a while and then I broke, and then like my plantar fasciitis or something will flare up. And I don't know, it could be like I spike my adrenal glands with the excitement and maybe the steroids. I'm using the intellectual, but like trying to understand that, like, just like you, whenever I do veer off the path, it just doesn't feel as powerful as beforehand. Talking about the different levels, do you think that masturbation versus making love or having sex with a partner is very different if you're spilling your seed either way?
I mean, I would obviously say there's some beneficial biochemical reactions, more so.
I almost feel like it's more of an earned release versus this cheap kind of fix.
Yeah, man. I mean,
because at least you're working hard, in the other way.
Not like masturbation. That is way too empty. But I understand, dude. It's a very stressful world. So I get it. Plus, the diet is the key. You will learn this the hard way. The nocturnal emissions, when you're sleeping, if you've had too many spices, too many mixtures, cooked oils, MSG, processed food, but mostly the stimulating spices that irritate the gonads and make it it creates an itch. It's kind of an itchy irritation of your gonads, and then you want to just rub one out,
Well, for me, like when you got me on the green juice and some fat, that was what took my sexual strength from like non-existent because of how sick I was and how like low fat I was and kind of just doing fruits and things, to where in a day it was back, which was amazing. But I also found that I never had that come down. And what I mean by that is with past girlfriends, it'd kind of be like I'd have to go carb up in the middle sometimes. And I thought, I just need more calories. But when I'm doing things like drinking this green juice, there's never a low point. There's never a come down
of that vitality.
Yeah. Really. And I feel like for me, it's the minerals. Like I feel like those minerals, that conductivity is really just what gives the male the ability to have all of those functions work properly.
Yeah, circulation and blood flow, and then the proper minerals and the proper nourishing foods. So there's vitality, which is energy. Then there's virility, which is the quality and the volume of the sperm. And then there is the stimulation,
Okay.
So when you're virile and when you're vital, you can learn to just keep it. You're like, I don't have a girlfriend right now. My wife divorced me. I'm just going to go to the office, make a ton of money,
Yeah.
maybe I'll date again or something. But for now, I'm just going to keep it, get my life on track, get on order, get sobered up, you know, make sure, whatever it is, you can just focus that energy. Men and women can do it together too. Take the self relationship, create the polarity. You get more attractive to your partner, really, and then you can focus on a mutual goal that you have as a family. You can also create very healthy children as well when you spend time apart and not making love. Then you have, it's more the level of sensitivity and awareness and love and gratitude that you'll have if you do it every week and you're just trying to do it. But if she knows her schedule, you know, and he knows he's ready, everybody's ready, she's like, and then you can be more conscious about it, and he can build up his strength and his energy and his focus, and she can work on her purity and her cleanliness, and then make super babies. Or you can be continent together and celibate and focus on a goal. So there's many things that you can do with the energy, and the more that you preserve your sexual integrity, the longer you'll live, because that's what the human organism is for. The men, they have the little death. They have the little death every day or once a week. They lose a little bit of more of their life. The woman has a child, and that's what the Chinese call the big death, you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because it takes a lot to have a child.
To recover, depending upon the health of the woman.
Well, yeah, of course.
Real quick, some women are in postpartum depression for 2 years, depending on how conscious you are, the lifestyle you live, and the environment and the support that you have. So it's just really being conscientious, educated, aware, and if there's anything that you have questions about, you know, learn about it, get some different perspectives, and then from those different perspectives, the different experiences that you have, then you can make up your own mind. Unfortunately, we only have one life. So it's like, should I go carnivore or vegan for this one? You don't know what to do. If you're bouncing back and forth and trying all this crap, you've never even had long enough to really, it's just, you're still doing off the residues from the last diet.
Yeah. Which is where most people are at.
What's that?
I feel like a lot of people are there though, because they're putting in some kind of work, whether they're going carnivore or vegan, and they never stick long enough either way to kind of follow through and see what the results could be. And you're a great example of that. Even though you've been doing this work, this getting healthier work, it's not as though you've made the complete regeneration yet. And I think that it takes an unbelievable type of character to still have that follow through. And would you mind sharing, like, if you could pick an area or a specific issue that you could resolve today as your number one priority? And for me, it could be like an adrenal glands or certain things. For you, what would that be? If you're able to address and kind of make a full recovery right now of an area or a specific problem, which would you choose?
In my brain.
Your brain? I feel that.
Yeah. It's, you know, it works okay. I mean, I have the God consciousness, so I can surrender, and it's definitely working better than it ever has been.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey with the brain ever since the childhood, you know, with the ED and the drugs and just all of it. And then I wake up and I get the new knowledge and information. I'm like, oh boy, you know. And so then I can't really, you know, I mean, I have to just accept.
Right.
And I'm continually doing this work as well with food, with, you know, different supplementation, yoga, lifestyle, sleep habits, to continue to not only, you know, sort of manage it as good as possible, but there is great hope for much more recovery. It's not like anything wrong, but there was a lot of, there was a lot of brain damage from the very get-go, from the beginning.
Sure. Have you ever had concussions or anything like that? I know you've talked about the drugs and the exposures to certain chemicals and things, but have you ever had any kind of like impact or trauma, physical traumas like that?
Dude,
Because I know you mentioned your friend who got hit with like a baseball bat, and you were lucky you were able to kind of get away from that situation.
yeah, well,
Or
that
2x4, right?
was done for. His brain was like on the ground.
Oh, geez.
That could have been me. You know, it
Yeah.
was a 2x4 during a fight for a sack of weed, a small sack of weed. I mean, you know, an ounce, but
Right.
shit, pounds of it. We would like, here, take this ounce. Don't beat us up. Don't kill us. I got out of the cave. That was, I don't know what, I just got away so many times. And my brothers, but I'm just saying the fight wasn't, it was stupid.
Yeah.
And but that did change my life that night changed my life. I said, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I'm not around these people. I don't want to be around these gangs. I don't want to be around because it's just stupid. Like for a sack of, like, it's so stupid. You know,
you hear these stories of kids betting on the streets and they lose like $1 and they go back and like shoot the person that got their dollar. It's just like over, you know what, over a sack of weed, your friend's brains were smashed. It's just insanity.
And other people got shot, and it was just stupid over a stupid sack of weed. We were just sitting there smoking weed, and they decided, oh, they want to steal 1 ounce of weed to bust some dude's fucking brains on the sidewalk. I mean, it was just the stupidest thing. And I went away that night, and I changed my life after that. I got out of that. So I'm glad it happened, but I'm you know, very unfortunate that many of my brothers got damaged. Right. I got out of there unscathed just by timing and the right moves and luck.
So you got out of that unscathed, but did you have any before or after any traumas to the head? You know what's crazy? I think it was on Joe Rogan. He was talking about some people who use wave runners. The bouncing up and down actually is enough to create a lot of brain damage over time, even subtle things that we wouldn't even think of like that.
I'll put it to you this way. I had a few bell ringers, no doubt. I had a few gnarly bell ringers, snowboarding, bicycling as a child. I've eaten pumps, you know, just bam, just walking out of the woods with, you know, broken brain, just bleeding all over the place, just, you know, because the front brakes and the slippery stairs, it was just, you know, so I had a few bell ringers, but those don't compare to the detrimental effects of, and that's why I'm always like, look out for those intramuscular infusions, man, because aluminum and mercury is the last thing you want stuck in your brain or the brain of your child. And so,
do those play a role in the calcareous deposits that you speak of?
Oh, huge, man.
Okay. So it's not just like the meth or something. It's also these other chemicals, these pharmaceuticals and infusions and stuff.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the darkness begets more darkness, you know, so when they put that darkness in you as a child, you're going to have all these pains and blockages. If you're this bright light child and your parents love you and they feed you good food and they let you be free, go ahead and play, Johnny. And no, don't do this, don't do that, don't have fun. You know, it's all so dark and damp. But if they let your light stay, if the mom is healthy and she's on a healthy diet and there's no violence and the finances are there and there's no stress and she's able to just incubate. Well, the husband comes home and after a long day's work, you could give her a foot massage or whatever. And she's just this excellent incubator and she's in a good mood and she's reading spiritual books and listening to classical music and the nervous system of the child is healthy. And then there's no drugs. It's a natural birth. There's no stress and fear and fluorescent lights and spanking the baby and all this stupid crap, you know, especially the chemicals, you know, which in all the various ways, through the mom and her diet, or through all the drugs the doctor wants to give a woman, or the fake vitamin pills even.
I grew up on the Flintstones. I don't know about you.
Same thing, bro. Yeah. I used to eat those like candy. It's just one thing, but it's more like expensive pee, but different elements can build up in the body over time in the tissues. But really, the worst that I've seen from all these years of contemplation and when it comes to the final frontier in healing, it is those synthetic chemicals that are put into these solutions that are designed to cross safety and protective barriers in the human organism. You have the blood-brain barrier. It's very intelligent. It's connected to your microbiome. And if the microbiome is healthy, then, and you're exposed orally or topically or through the lungs, through the nose, it can do a lot to protect those barriers in the brain from the synthetic chemicals. But if there's any weakness in the gut or in the barriers due to exposure of other synthetic chemicals that already has weakened the barrier.
Like the glyphosate.
Amphetamine type drugs, pharmaceuticals,
antibiotics, things like that.
Shop, antibiotics, spray paint, paint, industrial chemicals,
brake dust, all this stuff. That was actually, I don't know if you remember, just if we can go back for a second to 2018, when I had that consult with you, I had told you that I was in like massive fight or flight and I couldn't sleep. My anxiety was through the roof. And one of the things, the first things you said was get Restore, the stuff Zach Bush helped create or whatever. And I had brain fog for probably about 2 years. Within a week of using that and making other subtle changes, I was like freed from that brain fog. And you were saying how like the glyphosate and being in Jersey and all these chemicals just ripping your guts apart. And I think that you had me going like cucumber juice and start eating fat and salad again. But really just that simple couple of changes were enough to get me out of this. Like I was only sleeping like 2 hours a night. I would wake up at 3 a.m. with like massive kidney pain and my heart rate was like stuck at like 110 for weeks. Like I just couldn't like chill out on any level. And it's kind of akin to what you're talking about now, like these people who are having extreme anxiety. It might not even be your circumstances in life, but just your biological response to what you've been exposed to.
Yeah, because a lot of these synthetic chemicals, especially the ones that are infused into little children, the intention is not good. It is, now there may be ignorance in the masses of society, but there are entities, energies that know what they're doing, that want to get those chemicals in there because, like I said, on the front end, they can expose you and they know that it's going to be detrimental to all your biological functions, to your cellular integrity, because those synthetics, not only do they irritate the nerves and immune system, but get trapped in the tissues and act as cellular antagonists to all of your biological functions. So cellular communication is diminished or shut down altogether in the case of like type 1 diabetes, your hands in the pancreas,
and how do you stand up for yourself and defend yourself or your family? And how do you take care of yourself when like your body's barely functioning? The idea of going to work or watching your child that day is just so overwhelming, when really if you function like a normal healthy human being, it's like, this is nothing, this is what you do in life. But a lot of people are up against stuff that it's as though they have to climb Everest just to go have a 8-hour work week, or 8-hour work day. It's just so unbearably overwhelming. And I think that that's kind of what you're getting at. Maybe they're trying to weaken us so that they just have that control, right?
A healthy population is far more difficult to control. And artificial philanthropists, they figured that out, 120 years ago. Let's work. Before that, there were experts in all different various parts of the world that were, the propaganda machine is as old as the hills. You can, let's do all this. And then in the name of philanthropy, and it's happening again these days, blatantly, but people still haven't quite fully gotten it yet, that these capitalist philanthropists will, here's this free thing, and then But then they're the ones with the products that manage and maintain. They have the diagnostics, they have all the products, they have a kind of a monopoly on healing. And if you have any kind of alternative, inexpensive healing opportunity of some molecule, or which there's been many molecules, or different types of herbal things that are just cheap, or even a consciousness of here's another different way. They want to shut that down because they've got a monopoly on sick care is what it is. It's the sickness creation and management industry. So the acronym for that is SCAM. That's the biggest scam in the human history, at least from the perspective of what I do, which is helping people every day with various different, purposes. But a lot of it goes back to, the exposure to chemicals that close down or diminish biological functions or irritate the nerves or obstruct blood flow through the thrombosis or the microcapillary obstruction or the macrocapillary obstruction now because of the huge blood clots where there's that when the blood clumps together and blocks up microcapillaries or blood veins and vessels and obstructs the oxygen flow to different parts of the brain or nerves. And so the impulses and the communication is closed down. When you took the ion, which is what it's called now, it was Restore at the time. That's like a liquid circuit board going back. It's in the soil. That's why I like dirty plants and natural plants and getting outside and touching the earth as much as possible.
It's got that like humic acid.
It's really got
it titrates, right?
The
teratitrates. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Which is one of that's the most well researched at that particular company. But I'm sure that I'm convinced of synergistic. That's why I like, I got my little blender and all that stuff, but I keep things whole and synergistic. Supplements that I sell are actually whole synergistic supplements.
Even the fulvic minerals, the supercells ones, those have like the humic and it's got like this full spectrum. And I know that you add that to your juices and your water and stuff. And what's nuts, because you were talking about the blood flow and all that. A lot of us don't even realize how sick we are until we finally get freed from some of those obstructions. And I remember the first time using the hydrogen and I had like circulation to my hands and feet like I did when I was younger. And I was like, holy crap, dude, I forgot they were supposed to feel this way. I forgot I didn't always get so angry at someone for making a joke. Like I wasn't so sensitive and all these things that we kind of forget. It's kind of scary how good we could feel, like, getting to that complete regeneration that you talk about.
Dude, I got real close, man.
The closest was when, after the water fast, or what was the closest you felt like you've gotten to?
That was it, man. I was so clean, so energized that it was ridiculous.
Yeah, you looked incredible.
I felt fantastic, dude. And
I remember you got on a YouTube video and you were pretty close with like great lighting. And I'm like, I didn't know Dan had these blue ass eyes. Like your eyes were like so blue. I was like, holy crap. Because I had photos of when I was a child and they were bright blue. Right now they're like hazel or whatever you would say.
And as we truly detoxify, our eyes will change color. I have seen it many times in different phases of the game. And it's those eyes that are the clarity of the mind and the consciousness and the relinquishment of all the toxins. Most of us are quite toxic in today's world, and our eyes are not the color that they would be if we were rolling on all 8 cylinders.
Yeah. Do you think that iridology is as accurate as some of the teachers kind of teach, like Robert Morris? Do you think it's a really great window to see what's going on in the body?
I actually really think it's pretty profound and very useful. Yeah.
Do you know who Mark James Gordon is?
Yes, in a roundabout way.
He was kind of me getting into this in the beginning. He would do these lives and talk about, he was like a Robert Morse student. He posts all these like really good videos. And he said that I talked to him once and he was like, yeah, someone said in the group, have you ever met Dan McDonald or do you think he's the real deal? And he's like, I met that guy and I never seen eyes or skin like that in my life. He's the real deal.
Yeah, I've been through quite a bit. So you go through your phases up and down.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to accept that too, because you really do have your phases in the journey.
Sure.
Might expand and then contract and then kind of have to work some stuff out. And of course, we're always hoping for that more of that clarity, but then just life, you know, and we balance out and stabilize. But I have created the scenario. I've created the conditions that I need to pursue that 100%. And I can't make excuses. I just did what I had to do on the social media, but I'm in a position now to pursue my dream fully. And I'm going to be able to give up everything else and all the other illusions for that one single goal. But I think it comes and goes in phases because, you know, you have to learn. It's kind of like incremental. It's kind of like in the big picture and the small picture. It can be 2 steps forward, 1.5 back. Yeah. 2 steps forward, 1.5 back. But it trains you. It's training. You know, there's no, it's just like there's no final point.
I remember when you had left the Kauai pharmacy and then you got that first house where you turned the stove into like a cutting board area and you were making the videos and then you switched houses and that was to facilitate what you needed for the water fest, right?
Yeah, to end the relationship, to get out of this, like, you know, it's like $5,000 a month in Hawaii. That's how much it is.
Yeah.
You know, and I was the one taking care of the lady, you know, which God told me to do, you know, and then she got on her feet, you know, and we were done with that. And then I just went off and went on my own. And then it was easy. And I moved into this apartment and now I'm back in that same state of being where there's no, where I can do this intentional work. And I've been setting everything up, getting it ready to do that.
I relate to the intentional work because probably I've discussed this with you. One of my biggest ceilings is like how I earn my money. And what I mean by that is I can spend all the money on the food and do my best with the meditations. But really, when we're exposed to toxic work environments or toxic people, we have this limitation. And I believe that's what kind of you make people privy to in the consults, to where it's like you have to address your weakest links. You know, you could be doing all these things, but you live under a what is they called power meter, and it's zapping you all day, and you're like, why do I never feel rested, right? And sometimes it's like people feel really defeated because they're trying so hard. But I do want to encourage the people out there, like, if you're able to take that view that we talked about in the beginning of the conversation, to step back and see, oh, if I just shift these little things, or I stop talking to that person who makes life really, really awful, all of a sudden the results start to come pretty easily. And I want to show for my viewers and the people who watch this, the before and after. This is a 2-year before and after of when Dan started to give me this info. And then I was able to put myself in a position to do the work. I was able to work once a week. I was making like $400 an hour, and it was making enough money that I could take care of myself, be independent, in all of that, but finally have the time and the resources to just do what needs to be done in that moment. It wasn't like a strict plan. It was like, hey, you need to sit outside or you need to go to bed early. And a lot of us feel as though it's kind of trickier because of the work schedule. But this, because of Dan and the info and the work that I did, this was me when I first found Dan. I'm
Ooh.
6 foot tall. I was only 113 pounds, no sex drive, no girlfriend, sleeping on my mom's couch. And then this is me, and people love to talk about calories. In between, I tried to eat a bunch of calories, but I couldn't handle it. And I finally just got strict, and not strict, but I finally loved myself enough to do the green juice and the salad. It's probably having like 1,200 calories a day, but I was able to gain 40 pounds with the green juice and the Pyridine protein. And that's the thing. This is what, Dan, I think that for me, it wasn't just the info, because in the beginning, the info was very important, like the glyphosate healing and all that. But just speaking with you in those clusters afterwards, and I do believe it's more the vibration or the energy that you output. It's even if I know the answer, but then all of a sudden I'm exposed to you, it just becomes like digestible, or I get to experience what it feels like to be empowered. Because a lot of us know what to do. A lot of us know we should go to bed early, but why don't we do it? You know? And I feel as though being exposed to people such as yourself or the community that you created, it's really been making it a lot easier for me to stay on point. As even though, like you said, I oscillate too. I have these ups and downs like we all do. But that year in particular, I was able to make really, really big strides. And
I'd like to know more about that. But AJ, so I've never seen this on a Zoom call before, but what do you do when you drank a gallon of liquid already and you really got to pee? Do you just go off and wait?
I can pause it, actually.
Oh, can you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or you could, you know what? Why don't you just tell them about the Elite Video Club?
Yeah, perfect. I'll do that.
Use the restroom. I'll be right
Take your
back.
time. Yeah.
I'm not going to take my time.
Okay, guys, this intermission is brought to you by Hungry People Podcast. So for those of you who aren't aware, Dan McDonald, when he went on his little hiatus in between coming back to YouTube, he created something on Patreon called the Elite Video Club, which turned into a new source of support for Dan. So what he started to do was, if you join his Patreon for $39.99 a month, you're able to come on there and experience some amazing things. One of them is being private videos that those videos are not able to be put onto YouTube due to censorship. So if you're able to join this, you'll see videos you've never seen before. But what's really awesome is that bi-weekly or sometimes even weekly, DTM goes live with 30, 50, 60, 100 people. And we all get to listen to him kind of do his thing, rap a little bit. And we can also ask questions and get these really personal relationships. We kind of get to see each other's faces and interact in a really intimate and special way. It's kind of changed my life. And what's awesome is we've also been able to facilitate on WhatsApp a support group. So this support group is ran by myself, and I just kind of, answer simple questions in there. But really, we all get to support each other. For people who are new, people who are veterans, we share experiences with health or what's going on around the world. I think we have over 100, 150 members in the WhatsApp group. We're sharing foods, recipes, intentions, all of that. And we even do weekly, we do a support live group where we just get to know each other and hang out and talk in between some of the DTM lives. So for anyone out there who's interested in becoming part of the DTM family and getting almost like this personal relationship where you get to ask them questions and you get to be surrounded by people who are supportive, who don't judge you, they don't care what you eat, they just want you to feel healthy and feel seen and loved, then this is just an unbelievable group to be a part of. I've been a part of it for 2 years since the beginning. And then other than a month or here, just missing it for whatever reasons, I don't think unless Dan cancels it, I don't think I'll ever leave. So Dan, I just summed it all up. We just got 2 new people joining the WhatsApp group today, and Kyle and some other, it's just been amazing. All the new faces, everyone's excited, everyone's supportive. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So they don't know that you're like the manager of the support group. So that was heard from the bathroom, which, by the way, feels so much better. But yeah, so you did a great job at plugging the Patreon. Yeah, and I don't think
it's a family.
I think the Patreon will be around long after everything else. If if I can't get it together on the YouTube, I'm kind of doing a video marathon right now, and it's just not the video quality. What I'm thinking of is really, really changing my game, getting some professional help. And it's like one really good video a week would be better for my overall business than this whole nickel and diming myself to death.
Right, right.
I enjoy it, but I think if I had a little editing, an intro, outro, maybe someone that knew how to work all this stuff, and I could subscribe and the Patreon,
Yeah,
and just
it would blow up.
One a week with, you know, because the consumers want better content and maybe just focused videos. I mean, I don't know. I just thought I might be able to get some help in becoming a little bit more professional. Like, I'm really good at actually living it and doing it, even though it doesn't mean it's all I'm perfect or anything like that. But I mean, I just really, in the consulting and real life, I'm better at consulting with, I mean, the people that call me, you wouldn't even believe. They're not going to say, they're not the normal YouTubers. These are people with complicated issues. That just, or, you know, sometimes it's like the lady that I worked with yesterday, her sister just told her about me a week ago. And I just fixed her right up in one video. And this is a very smart, intelligent woman who's been in the heat field for years. It was just a matter of timing. Me kind of I'm just like more real centered, and she was just really not. So I just brought her back to the center to remind her, you know, because I'm living in it now, the yogi phase of nothing's bothering me. I'm at peace. Even the business and the fact that the YouTube is just kind of like mediocre. I mean, the people that love me.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that love you.
Yeah, but I think I could do better. I want to do better. I'm going to see what comes up in the next couple months. It's talking to me right now, like one good solid video per week, and then maybe guiding people over to the Elite Video Club to do some of the more longer educational trainings, so that the YouTube's a little cleaner, you know, better video stills, better titles.
Right.
I'll see how it's going. Fine. I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
It's a little ghetto, and I think I could have a better presence. I don't really want to change myself, but just you know, if I could do better and reach out to more people, because where I'm coming from, there's really nothing that can't be either healed or at least looked at from a different perspective. I believe that a lot of people could learn this whole life regeneration of the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies by realizing more of the self-realization of the inner, like everything we're looking for is already there.
Right.
Clean away and polish the glass. Can we settle the muddy water? You know, so we're all so tight and so strung out and so anxious, and we got so much, but a simple life, you know, where the world's got you convinced that more money, more cars, more girls, more this, more that, more food, bigger, better, huge burgers, a gallon of soda. And you're just like, you know, I'd rather spend $20 on an organic watermelon and just eat that and come home to my simple little apartment where I don't even have any furniture. I found this in the dumpster, you know, like kind of like this simple, so that you can be with the ease, but all the things, and then you got to have insurance for this, and then you got to insure the jet skis, you know, and you're just like, you know, you got all this stuff, and it's so much stuff. And I meet these people, they're millionaires, and they're just so, you know, they have diseases, and they're in pain, and they're stressed out. It's like, you have $800 million, bro, and you don't feel like you have enough to retire on. I mean, ripping. Like, humans are crazy. How can I help people to get uncrazy, being a crazy person myself, and then getting less crazy, but also accepting the craziness too as okay?
Yeah. Do you feel like it's easier when either you're being interviewed or you're making some kind of content for with somebody else? Do you think it takes some of that pressure off you? Because I know that you record a lot of videos, and a lot of the times you maybe veer off or say things you didn't want and you don't post. Like you always talk about, I made 100,000 videos and they've never seen the light of day. Do you think that having some kind of I don't know if accountability is the right word, but something along those lines would make it to where you don't feel as overwhelmed about the situation?
I'm just trying to let go and not just, it's like, because I don't even really believe in my own beliefs.
Okay.
It's hard for
Yeah,
people
yeah,
to,
yeah.
but they're so like, here is the religion of God, and if you don't follow these rules, you're going to hell. And you're
Yeah.
just like, you are tripping.
Right.
And here's, the vegans are just, and then the carnivores are, kale is killing you. It's like,
Yeah.
and
Oxalates.
all bullshit. And even I'm full of shit. Let's just be honest.
Right.
Everyone is full of shit.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Right.
It's more like said guru. He's going on here. He says one thing one day, one thing another day, but it's the energy.
Yeah.
It's your
For sure.
energy. And so it's really hard to describe, but as you get more and more, you enjoy the silence,
Mm-hmm.
and
And you think you're going to miss out when you're not thinking of something exciting or the movie. But if you actually do get to that feeling of silence or that peace, it's worth everything. It's so much higher. It's so much more exciting. So sometimes I'll tell myself before bed, like, hey, if you go to lay down now because you want to go to bed early, think about these exciting things. But that only lasts a few seconds or minutes, because as soon as I realize again, wow, just being calm is infinitely more enjoyable, I break free from that. And I actually wanted to ask you, would you consider yourself in the past or with your experience, did you have more experience with anxiety or depression? I usually find that people have more one or the other. For example, myself, I've always I've always had more experiences being anxious. Not that I haven't had depression, but I almost sometimes enjoyed depression because I was finally able just to like lay in bed all day or relax. Versus in the past, I've been so anxious, I never get to relax ever, and I'm always anxious. And do you feel like either of those played more of a role?
I would say deep rest, because that was just anxiety. It's more, the anxiety is a little bit more subtle, very, very subtle. Like, what if you go your whole life celibate and you realize you should have got a woman? Now you're old and gray and can't get it up, whatever like that. But what I've realized, the deep rest, depressed, meaning, and that's what I'm doing now. It's been amazing that the amount of courage and testicular fortitude or ovarian fortitude that it takes to tell the world, hey, I'm going to rest. I'm going to relax. Well, what about, you got all these comments and all these people, you owe us, you owe us, you owe us. The kids, they're in their 20s, you owe us, and everybody, you owe me. I want your energy and attention and money, and you answer my questions on Facebook or you're an asshole, Yeah. And you're just like, whoa. I can sit in that room, relax, deep rest. I am deeply resting. Right now, I've been grinding. But I'm mastering the art of balancing it all out. 1 or 2, maybe 3 consults a day, maybe an interview a couple times a week. Knock off these little ghetto videos of me kind of in the middle of my day. I got a minute here, but then like I'm making sure I'm getting my yoga 5-6 days a week. Today on Sundays, there is no yoga. So I have this Pilates thing, and I don't need that. I like the chill Zen yoga, so I don't go.
Right.
Good for your muscles and stuff, but I like the chill yoga stuff. So I take Sundays off from yoga, but I'm just keeping it all balanced. But I'm still kind of going, I haven't really been I've been grinding it this last month. I came back when I had the video marathon, and then it blew up. Hella consults, like 1, 2, 3 consults a day, and I've been just kind of grinding it because I wanted to. What I do is I'm packing the court so that a bunch of videos everyone can get caught up on when I go on to this next break, where I go more deep rest, where I tell myself, Dan, you don't owe anyone anything. You owe yourself this. You owe this because this is what you want. You want to learn the art of Kaya Kalpa. You want to learn to meditate. You want to feel the stillness and dissolve and be able to kind of get frayed. When you go into your deep detox, it's all of it, of the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual trauma, pain body, detox of awakening. You have days where you're just like, you're frazzled, you're haggard, and you need to have the space so that you're not like, then you're like, because then you can let go and you're like, I'm in my pajamas, I look like shit, I feel terrible, I'm tired, I'm lazy, I'm grumpy, my head hurts, I'm detoxing out of my kidneys, whatever. And you don't have to get up and smash yourself around and drink a couple juices and, off the cobwebs when you really want to so it's for me, it's always been, I've had a lot of energy, kind of high strung, and I can keep going like a soldier. I've learned how to do that. But what I'm doing now is the deep rest, unwinding. It's okay. You don't owe anyone anything. I don't have any credit card debt. I can't answer all the questions on YouTube and all the emails. And I get so many inquiries about this, that, and the other, so many products. And,
I'm really impressed with your ability to detach from that. Cause I feel like for me, I feel really, for some reason, I always feel that when people say that I owe them, or I just have this underlying feeling of like, oh, I have to like help this person, or I like have this guilt about saying no. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that. It's almost this, this suckerness to where you work for everybody else, but you never work for yourself. You take care of everybody else, but you never take care of yourself. And witnessing you talk about this stuff really starts to, wake up that part of me that's like, hey, wait a minute, I've done my parts and I do deserve to actually focus on myself, even though there's some guilt there. Like, I got to figure this thing out, because if not, how could I ever be there for anyone anyway?
That is pretty much what it is. Society frowns upon those. There's like selfishness and greed. And then there is self-care and, focusing on your goal, because, if okay, here's the saying, you want to straighten out society, first you have to do a harder thing, and that's straighten out yourself. Everyone wants to fix the world. It's broken. Yeah. Honey, you are broken. Because once you're fixed, there's no problem in the world.
And it almost sounds easier to fix the world than fix yourself. So that's probably why they do it.
Oh, all the world fixers, they're the self-avoidance fixers. They don't want to look at themselves, because then they're like, ooh, this is a real project, So there's something about karma yoga and helping people. But when you're helping people, you're just helping God, which is helping self. There's only one self. There's only one God. So, you're not like, oh, look at me, I have money, this poor bum. It's like God is giving God a snack money or beer money. They'll be like, I want beer money. It's like, dude, here, have $20. They ask, can I have, they're like, can I have $1? I want to get a beer. It's like, dude, here's $5, bro.
Yeah, right. Have a bigger ask. Yeah.
It's like, I don't do that crap. And that same thing with the food, man. Everyone gets whatever they want. I'll buy it. It's on. You want steaks? Fine. Let's do it.
Were you always like that, or did you feel like you got humbled into that? Because for me, I used to be that really tight vegan who would try to make people feel bad about their choices. And then, like I said, when I got my ass kicked and I got humbled, now I feel exactly how you preach it, where I don't want anyone to do anything because of me, but I'll happily share my thoughts, kind of thing. But were you always like that, or did you kind of change?
In my private life, I was. On my videos, I played a different character because when
Okay.
I was home, I would just make chicken stir fry for my family or my kids. They would want pizza or
Yeah.
eggs. My wife had these WIC coupons and there was milk and eggs. I mean, what was I going to say when we were poor and broke and I'm living on the streets? I can't say, don't drink milk.
Yeah.
So in
Right.
private life, and I've always made whatever anyone wants and never judged, but on the YouTube, but now I'm becoming more real because of
Yeah.
all the wars and stuff. It's like, that's all those society needs is another war to divide and conquer about the
Yeah.
stupid food, you
Right.
know. It's like, look, I do what I want, but look at me, I'm just skinny. I eat like a bird, but you know, can you survive as a vegan? Your teeth will fall out, your dick will fall off, you know.
Yeah.
And they tell these stories, you know, Dave Asprey, he's like the emotional trauma queen. I went vegan for 3 weeks, all my teeth were falling out, my balls stopped working, my eyeballs fell out, I had to push them back in. It was terrible. Don't go vegan. Buy my
Right.
bulletproof coffee, bacon and eggs, you know.
Yeah. You need butter every day to function.
I like him. He means well, but you know, it's not really he's lacking knowledge because
Yeah.
he feel his own feelings and stuff. Your teeth don't start falling out after 3 weeks on a vegan diet.
Yeah.
Well, vegan, I wouldn't even be vegan anyways because there's a
Yeah.
lot of.
Can
Anyways,
can
you
you
know,
expand a little bit on that? Because I feel as though there's always just so much fucking drama about what other people are eating. And for me, what I get frustrated on is people will kind of give me a little crap just for like wanting to drink green juice or wanting to buy enzymes. And they're like, isn't that expensive? And it's like, so you saw that before and after photo of me. I don't care how much money it took. I want to be the after person. I spend thousands of dollars every year or 2 years on green juices and enzymes and supercells because I just want to actually feel better. And that's what I wish people would focus on more. Like, hey, how do you feel? Not, hey, what do you eat? Oh, that's wrong. I think that especially in even the fruit community, even though fruit's amazing and healthy, everyone, if you eat a vegetable, they're like, that's not human food. And it's kind of like why? What's the point of having that little tidbit? I don't get it.
well, that's their unresolved stuff. You
Mm.
know, I've had to resolve it all. Eat whatever you want. It's all delicious and it's all very expensive poop, you
Yeah.
know? And so if your poop pipe gets clogged up, that's all I'm saying is every
Mm.
once in a while, clean out the shit shaft, you
Yeah.
know, and get your brain clear and then start over fresh. That's why periodic fasting, at least get it one time,
Mm-hmm.
which no one ever does, but at least clear yourself out completely one time so you can see what it is. But then if you really want to live, you know, and you really want to have clarity, you'll clean out the poop pipe every, you know, whatever, every few years,
Sure.
ideally, what the Shaolin monks do and fast for 40 days once a year, you
Damn.
know.
Can you
But
expand? Because people are going to think, a lot of people think that fasting is starving. And from what I've learned from you, you're not interested in starving at all. You want to be nourished and everything, but you also want your system to run clean. Could you speak on that just for a second?
uh, yeah, I mean, fasting is the removal of the buildup of residues, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And starving starts after fasting. Most people are very, very toxic.
Mm.
And when we're built up and in a healthy state, our body has toxins in it. It just depends on how much the accumulation builds up in the body and where as to what kind of diagnosable disease that you get. So fasting, there is one level of it, which is the more popular level, which is autophagy or ketosis. Then there's real truth about it, that you're just removing all the obstructions within the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual planes. Everyone's always like fasting for weight loss. That's all they think of.
Yeah.
But have you ever thought about fasting for like emotional poise and overwhelming ecstasy in your heart, where you're so much light that every person you come across says you are emanating so much light? Your mind is clear. You've actually detoxified resentments and drugs and chemicals and regenerated the neurons in your brain from fasting by not using the anandamide system, by not using the dopamine serotonin system while you're fasting. You're just like, I'm fasting, I'm so just nothing. I'm just But that, then what? You're not, hey, all right, this is really cool. I actually feel good. I hate fasting. I feel so much better.
Yeah.
More of that tasty food, or let's do some more drugs and then we'll feel better. Yay! And you're always on this oh man, it's like, coffee. Okay, now we can go throughout the day. But when you take all that away and you do the fasting, the nervous system, and then you sleep so deep and you realize the drugs and the food, they keep you from getting that deep, restful sleep. When you sleep, when you're fasting, especially in the first couple of weeks, if you're tired, the deep sleep that you get, the restorative, you wake up, then that stops happening. But, you know, and then you start sleeping like 2 or 3 hours a night. And then it's like, oh, this is really challenging because now I've got 21 hours doing nothing, you know, but it's a real amazing process that is very well little understood. They study little rats and mice, or some people do like 72 hours extended fast. I'm like, fasting doesn't even really start until about day 7 or 10.
Sure.
Really?
Yeah. And I was actually going to give up on a juice fast that I did. It was day 30. And like, it's not that there wasn't benefits, but I was kind of like, And then I had this really weird rubbery thing, you know, like everyone talks about, come out of me. And I finally felt like my ego dropped big time. It's still there. I still have an ego, but I finally stopped wanting to control anybody else. And my girlfriend at the time, I was like, you know, I was trying to like make her feel guilty about wanting to drink beer or smoke cigars every once in a while with her dad, and all of that just fell away. And I'm like, please do whatever you want. And I don't think that I could be swayed by someone explaining it to me, but feeling it completely changed my life.
Yeah. So you can gather a lot of data and knowledge,
Which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah, and then they don't ever act upon it. But if you act upon it, then you can experience it for yourself. And then it becomes embodied. And then you emanate a frequency automatically, and that'll help your career or whatever it is that you're doing, or just being a blessing. If you're going around and you're talking about spiritual concepts, but you're not really embodying them, it's nice, but it's not really going to make a huge profound difference, you know.
And when you cleanse or water fast, do you try to spend as much time alone as possible? I know for me, I'll get 10 times more benefit if I'm just alone. Even taking phone calls, I don't handle that well. But if I could just take care of myself in the exact moment I need to, that's when I see big benefit. And I made a mistake before of like trying to work and do these other things.
Yeah, and I've worked all the way through long water fast too, but I'm more in the phase of really going in deep and getting as much solitude and silence and really dealing with your stuff. You can really accelerate, go deeper. So one thing during the water fast though, is you never want to stop your spiritual work, even in the water fast. You never want to stop the inward journey. And if you're even on one to begin with, because people they use the water fasting as a weight loss tool, which obviously that is, but it's also can allow you, if you go long enough, to maybe face a lot of the traumas that you're burying from, you know, being molested as a child, or, you know, being called names, or all the other reasons why you hold on to extra weight to cushion or buffer yourself from the world.
Yeah. Did you ever like cry during fasts because of those emotional releases? Like I've cried up to like 50 times a day processing this like intense kind of past issues. Have you experienced that?
But I know, though, honestly, I have a real big cry in me. I don't cry because I have that weird, like, it just doesn't really crack. I have never been able to crack. I feel like it's gonna, all of it, because I can sense it, I feel it, I know it, I got close to it, I see it every day, I feel it, I watch it, the old patterns of the trauma body, the pain body, the anger ball, you know. So I feel like, I think that's one of the things that's going to help me detoxify my brain, is if I get to that point of that crying, because crying releases a lot of toxins.
Yeah, you can taste it and feel it.
Yeah, and it's a real relief. And I know women that would do it, you know, they would do it on purpose, you know, and they would let it happen, and they would keep going with it, and just, they would cry it all out. Me, I'm like, I'll have a tear or two. I'm like, okay, scare you.
Yeah. Well, we talked about like what would be your number one priority physically, and you said your brain, to trying to like regenerate that. If we went to like more of the emotional body, does anything come up there that you feel as though could use some movement or regeneration or kind of removal?
More self-acceptance of the various different characters and a character that he has, you know, because he's kind of a unique guy, you know. He's been a lot of things. I've lived 10 lifetimes in this one life. So there's like the gangster, there's the yogi, there's the ladies' man, the lover boy, the little child, the mature adult, there's the businessman, you know, and they're all in there, you know. And I'm learning to try to honor all of them. And, you know, yesterday's yoga class intention was balance. And I said, I need more of that. Like, that's why I'm not so hardcore when it comes to like, you have to be celibate, you little punk. It's like, you know, whereas before it was more black and white. Now I'm more like, how do you stay balanced, you know, with your 2 steps forward, 1 step back, as you ascend the mountain of, you know, just, I don't need to be hard on this person. We don't need to, you know, Bill Gates, let him do the thing, you know, don't acquiesce to it. And all the people that are mad and everything's racist, and all these crazy truck drivers that want to be free, all these crazy people that want to be free and not controlled by the government, they're fringe domestic terrorists. I mean, you know, you got to let all be like, okay, you guys are really, you can see that it's just innocent little children. Unfortunately, they've got their hand on the nuclear weapons. It was funny, they thought Trump was going to blow up the world, and now it's like dumb and stupider are in there now, and it's like a bunch of retarded kids that like now they have their hand on the nuclear weapon, you know. And anyways, it's just all.
What's so funny is like in every single movie, they're always like the government or whatever is the big business is the bad guy, the evil. But then when it comes to this, everyone's so trusting and like loves it. It's like, yes, we get free donuts and all this kind of crap. It's unbelievable.
What has happened is it's not that unbelievable.
Maybe not.
You gotta be just, that's why it's important for each individual to tap into the intelligence, because it will guide you. Like, sure, the government cares about me. Yeah, I've read a couple of history books. That's never been the case. Now all of a sudden, so it's pretty obvious. To most of the people that are, but then there was some surprises of people that acquiesced. And then they had a lot of problems. They're having problems getting a hold of me. My period's all whacked out. I don't know if I can use anymore. You know, I've had all these. It's just, and it's amazing. But I don't know. For me, it's crystal clear. It's so obvious. It's like I'm reading a piece of paper that says we're going to do this, 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 and this. It's all a lie. It's all fraud. It's all false. You need to believe it, but we know you're not gonna, because you're not that stupid. And I'm not saying everyone that believed in it was stupid, but it's so obvious at this point. If you haven't caught on by now,
Sure.
you never will. But they tell you, that's the thing about the satanic cult. They have to tell you what they're going to do. They have to tell humanity what they're going to do, and then humanity has to say yes to it. And they tell you right to your face.
Which is why they pump you with the fear to hopefully get a yes out of you.
Yeah, and it's, if they can coerce you and fear, they can't. Satan and God, neither Satan nor God wants to force you, because no power in that. But coercion, fear, anything goes. But God and the devil want you to choose it. And we have the ability to choose. That's why I just choose God and truth all day, every day. And it puts all that other stuff into perspective, you know?
So you believe we have free will with that?
Well, the wise man, you know, transcends free will and destiny and just sits in the self, really. And that's what, you know, you can sit here and talk for 2 hours, but, you know, stay in the self, stay in the source energy, keep the mind and the heart. Well, keep the mind anchored in the heart, because the heart is the source self, you know. And so you're happily going about your daily work, but the mind, and you're doing interviews and everything, but the mind never leaves the heart, never leaves the source. You know that you are the infinite self.
And that truth is in the silence.
It's, you know, there is a silent quality to the truth. It's revelation as a knowing. And then as human beings, we use the words to try to use as little guideposts or pointers or ideas of things that you might be able to utilize as little tools along the way of the food trip, the celibacy trip, the meditation, the forgiveness, let's see what, I'm going to do this colon cleansing thing and see what happens.
Right.
Somebody might watch this video, like, I'm going to clean my colon out. And they learn about the colon, they look at it, they do some, you know, herbal products, they do a juice fast, and they clean their colon out. And they're like, wow, those guys, they were really telling the truth. I feel so much better. That could be your own experience. And then all it was just you and I being what we are, doing this thing. And then that was an emanation. And so it's just, you know, it's just seeds.
Yeah. And I think that those seeds are very important, but also, like, anytime I felt my best, I've always just been quiet and observed. And that's always where I felt the most powerful. And I feel as though after your water fast, I really sensed that the most from you that I've ever sensed before, because you finally, or apparently you had this just like really great understanding or feeling or something.
Of a knowing. And the example.
And you don't need to tell everyone or explain it. You just have it, or you feel it and you live it.
Everybody wants proof, right? So you say, okay, well, do you love your
proof that the mucoid plaque is real or not real?
Well, you know, when someone says, like, do you love your mother? And they go, well, yes, of course I do. You know, and then you're like, okay, now prove it. Show me some scientific evidence that you love your mother. It's like, well, I can't. I just know it. And it's like, thank you.
Yeah. Perfect. Love it.
You know,
right.
And it has their own, you know, it's just frequency and vibration. And, you know, can we consciously ascend? I don't know. It seems like it, but that also could be an illusion. It's just happening on its own. You know, it does seem the more you can surrender, the more the divine intelligence can, you know, the grace kind of descends, and the revelations and all the little workings and the drama just kind of fades out. So if you can, you know, let go and just be as you are, you know, then there's a lot more peace. You know, it's being human is an interesting thing.
Yeah. I when I was younger, I would pray at night. I didn't go to church or anything, but I would pray for like my family, and I wasn't told to, I just did it. And then I really wouldn't consider myself that much of a spiritual person until the experiences that I've gone through with the sickness and stuff. And again, I don't go to church or anything, but I do. Once I felt connected, like after that 30 days, we are all one. I just want the best for everybody. And having that kind of wake up call, to me, even though intellectually it's almost like I could explain away anything somewhat, the feeling and the knowingness just completely overshadows all of that intellect, and it's not even comparable.
Yeah, the deep awareness.
Yeah, Dan, you've come across some really amazing people and some really amazing products and just avenues of different aspects of life. Some of the products being like Morocco Method, Puradyme, Kauai Pharmacy, Supercells, and some of those people, like you mentioned, Tavis being your best friend, and Lou being more like an uncle or a mentor or father figure, maybe, I'm not sure. Christina, seems as though you guys have a good relationship there. Do you think that there's something about you that draws in these really special relationships and opportunities? Or do you think that it's something else, like you just kind of let it come into your life? Or do you think that you have worked to be able to have such amazing things come to you?
As you rise, your frequency, the higher your frequency, the more you can if your frequency is high enough, you'll just sit there and they'll come and they'll bring you. First, it'll be food and milk, it'll be rice and fruit. Next thing, it'll be like Rolls Royces, checks. You didn't even do anything. You just sat there and they sat around you, and like, this guy just sits there. He doesn't even really say anything, a few words every once in a while, but his energy is so good, his eyes, and then here's a check, let's build an ashram. It's like, that's the way the world works. The loving, kind, high energy, high frequency, high consciousness person, all doors open up, unlimited, come and stay in my cabin in Alaska.
Yeah.
Come be my chef. You can drive my cars. Or I've had so many different things. And, there's just nothing better for me than just meditation, yoga, a salad, and a movie.
I love that. I love that you still incorporate the movie, because I feel like I relate to that. And I feel like a lot of people are like, all movies and TV and any kind of entertainment is not great. But I feel as though that's kind of like a special thing, to be able to have something that's, because even though I acknowledge we're kind of spirits living a human experience, it's still the human experience, man. Like, it's still cool to have girlfriends or have, movies to watch or travel a little bit. And that kind of comforts me that you like that too, even being as far ahead in the work, etc., as compared to myself. But I would love to ask you, kind of like, what's your favorite top few movies that either you can look back on, maybe they influenced you, or you just really enjoyed them? I would be just curious to know, because I'm a big movie guy myself.
Well, Tavis is the one that gets me into movies when we get together.
I would have never guessed that.
Movies. Oh, I know, but no, he's a huge movie buff. He loves it.
That's cool.
Preacher, The Kingsman.
Okay, I'm gonna write these down, so I want to watch them.
Have you watched The Kingsman?
I haven't seen it, no, but I've heard of it.
So super dope. The Jason Bourne series, that was epic.
Okay, I haven't seen those either.
Oh my god, dude! That was a movie buff. I'm digging archives. I watched an old ass movie last night from like a Swedish movie, Knights in Shining Armor kind of thing. It was really low budget.
Yeah.
Really cool. It was, the cinematography was cool. Yeah. And it was, I like knights, Roman gladiators, that time.
Okay.
Of course, I like.
So you've seen Gladiator, I guess, then.
Oh, of course, like probably 10 times.
Have you seen Cinderella Man with the same actor, Russell Crowe? The boxing movie in the
I
Great Depression.
I'm sure I've seen it, but I could be overdue for a rewatch on
It's
that one.
it's a good one, man. I'm going to throw a few at you. I don't know if you've seen them, but have you seen Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal?
I don't think so. Is that a new one?
It's 2013. I've never heard of it. Someone recommended it. It's like no one knows about it. It's a thriller drama, like a mystery. It's
Okay.
awesome, dude. If you like that, it's like 3 hours long, so it's an investment. But this other one I just seen, what is it called? Small Engine Repair, low budget movie. It's got the guy who plays the Punisher in the new Netflix, John something. Anyway, small budget movie, but really, really good. I don't know if there's certain kind of genres you like better than others, but I just watched this romantic trilogy called the Just series. It's or no, the Before series. It's Before Midnight, Before Sunrise, and something else. Really, really, it's cool. What I like about movies is I've never really been into drugs or gangs or alcohol, to a degree. I've had little exposures, but it's cool to see other people do it and get that feel. Since I have no interest myself, it's kind of cool to see other people live that way and get a little taste of that.
Yeah, it's good to be sober.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
that you got your brain is still intact.
I've been drunk 3 times in my life.
That 3 times is enough.
Is yeah, there's enough people drinking and doing all that kind of stuff. That's how I'm like, I can justify it so easily. I get nothing out of it. Maybe I get a little bit of fun or whatever, like excitement for a minute, but the next day or even who you just become as a result of that crutch, it's like, no thanks.
Yeah, believe me. But it's part of my story. It makes me relatable to.
For sure. Yeah, I'm unrelatable with that completely.
Yeah, but you can get sobered up, and I understand like addiction and sobriety, and it's hard, man.
No, I mean, my entire family goes through it like crazy. I think it's the one thing everyone can relate to most, that they know somebody who really struggles with that.
Yeah, it's the brain chemistry and just the upbringing, and it's yeah, there's nothing more important. Like the awareness is your treasure, and all of those things diminish it. And so
Yeah.
what we're working on nurturing is the awareness and the clarity, and those things become later on, they become more valuable, after you've had them or not had them and gained it and then lost it
Yeah.
and then gained it again. You really begin to value. It's like, okay, no, no, no. You just kind of start saying no to everything as much as you can, and it's just one thing after the other you just let go of until life is boring, but then it's peacefully boring. And then you just learn, like the other night I had this, I just felt like super lonely.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, it's okay, I'll just embrace that. And it felt like I was like happily lonely, I was okay with it. Because I saw this movie, I see that's the problem with movies, is the guy romance. And then like I saw the Huntsman Winter's War, and it was like, and there was this the romance to it, and she's so pretty, and I just thought,
Yeah.
it always does that to me. Then I'm like, oh,
Well, don't watch the Before trilogy then.
what's that?
I said, well, don't watch the Before trilogy then. It kind of gave me that same feeling. It's like it's kind of been long enough. I feel like I want some love.
Yeah, but then you can I kind of turned it around, and I just sat there and sort of loved myself, and I thought of all the benefits that I have and the no drama. Not that every relationship is drama, but it kind of like a lot of times relationships are unconscious opportunities.
Yeah.
To face some of the unconscious as it relates.
If you want to learn about your own problems, get into a relationship. It's the quickest way. You'll see all of your kind of bull crap probably come up pretty fast.
I guess, yeah, all triggered and all tangled up. And if you're trying to untangle yourself, that's why I think they come and go in fits and starts. And I kind of went from one to the other. I
don't know if there's an easier way to lose yourself, especially if you don't love yourself that much, but you can really, you feel love for the other person, and you kind of lose yourself easier than you might have ever before.
Yeah, that's why communication and making sure that you're sharing that and talking about that, because you'll resent someone if you lose your sovereignty.
Yeah.
You can even love them, but you'll still resent them because it's like, I can't express. My wife, she's not going to listen to this. Like, she won't hear this, what I have to say about what I'm feeling as a man. But if you've got good communication and you have that really broad perspective, like, I need to talk to you about something, here's what I'm feeling. Sometimes just expressing it and getting it out on the table.
Yeah.
It can, oh, okay. And then she's like, oh, that's okay that you have those feelings, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes your insecurity about it, or, you know, hyper focus is the only actual problem, when they don't even give a crap. It doesn't affect, like, you think it's bothering them, but it's not. And it's just your internal reflection, and just addressing it, even though nothing changed, now you're kind of free. Right. And you and I have even had that, where we get to just talk about something openly and freely, and the relationship just gets so much better and stronger.
If I can communicate openly, that's the main thing. I can't really open my heart unless I can be open. Like, I want to be able to, I want to know that I can trust you to be all parts of myself.
Yeah.
So that I don't have to be a compartmentalized version on my best behavior. And then later on, you're going to find out and be disappointed. And it's going to be a lot of bullcrap. Like, is it okay if I'm a human that makes mistakes?
Sure. And that's such a challenging thing, because we always put our best foot forward when meeting people, and in that beginning, you know, we're kind of all bluffing to a degree, right?
Well, but not anymore. I'm like, you're real beautiful, and I'm kind of a dick. So
yeah. Well, they love that too. They love that honesty, I would think.
I'm saying, like, look, I mean, I'm a nice guy sometimes. Sometimes I get grumpy and I'm a real jerk.
Yeah.
And that's the first date, you know, because normally you're like, oh, I've got all my shit together. I'm fine. It's like, you know, but everybody's got stuff, man. And, you know, at first, of course, that's the thing. Like I was saying in the beginning, the first 6 months is la la land.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves me. He's so perfect. He's so perfect. And then later on, he's like an abusive, narcissistic jerk who wants to control every aspect of your life, and he's psychotically jealous. But you don't learn that until later, and then you got to extract yourself and cut the cords. And so then you're more like, whoa, hold on a minute. Then you're more of a tiptoeer, like, let's just chill out. Let's not move in right away. I've only known you for 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you hit it on the head completely. I've seen it time and time again.
I don't even know what it is that I would want. I don't have a vision board for relationships. You know, I'm a very unique person when it comes to that. It's like,
yeah, you are. And I feel as though what's interesting with all of the fame that you kind of have, the YouTube fame or the raw food fame, and being voted the sexiest raw vegan back in the day a couple times. I know your ego loves. No. What's interesting is I feel as though you don't let that feed you don't take admiration and those compliments and like jack up your persona. Whereas I think it'd be really easy to do. And, you know, I'm still relatively new to all of this. And, you know, I do think that I will grow and have a decent sized podcast and channel and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to think, when I start to get a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback, not just from hot chicks or something, but, you know, just peers and etc. How is that going to play into my character? Because I'm aware of it, at least, you know, I'm aware that these things will kind of happen, or they might happen. And that being said, I was actually building to a point here with you getting the compliments and not letting it, you know, jack you up, you know, because you said your love language is touch. You know, people can compliment you all day or, you know, blow smoke up your ass. It doesn't really do much. Well, what kind of makes you feel most alive? Because for me, it's not that I depend necessarily on other people for my happiness, but when I am having really good conversations, like I feel like with you right now, or I'm hanging out and the ambiance and the scenery, and there's a super cool chick that I'm hanging out with and we're just really connecting, or I'm with the boys and we're running up a mountain. Like I ran with Mike Arnstein this year up a mountain. To me, I feel so alive sharing intimate, deep connections. And I'm interested, because you're such a individual and you really appreciate your alone time and being alone. Do you feel most alive when you're by yourself, or how much do you appreciate some of the connections that you have or have had?
I don't have that many, just because right now I don't have any friends here really. I don't know anyone, and I haven't seen. There's no community really necessarily, so I don't know what's going on. But I like it. Tavis comes over, every once in a great while, and I love talking with him. But I mean, I am a hot-blooded American dude. I mean, my favorite thing is that adventure and communication, and romance, road trips, and intimacy. To be honest with you, one of my favorite things is to massage women.
Yeah.
Not necessarily do anything else other than that, but I mean, I just like to turn them into butter in my hands.
Right.
Because it pumps me up, because I'm never trying to, I've gone so many years without releasing, that I'm never trying to get there. It's the juicy warmth of trust and communication. So I kind of have a thing where it's like outdoor adventures and communication, and then that intimacy of understanding that, I'm not necessarily trying to make children right now, or even lose my seed. So it's kind of makes it more complicated. I'm not exactly the cut and dry kind of a dude. So I'm reserved to, I don't know, I may never have that ever again, which I'm totally okay with.
Yeah.
I have a lot more mind control, but it is one of my favorite things on earth. But at the same time, I will never lose my freedom again. So if I can't stay free, I will never do that again, because the freedom is the most important thing. Because if I lose myself, it's death.
And even being what I said, the times where I completely invest in myself, I invest in my sleep, and I was actually in a relationship at the time. And when 8 o'clock would hit around, I'd be like, hey, I'm starting to go to bed. I didn't care if she was, I cared about her, but I didn't care if she was upset that I was creating these boundaries, because I finally was feeling alive again. I was finally eager to wake up at 5 a.m. and do that walk and come back and hot, cold shower and meditate. And that I wasn't really connecting with people, but that was the other side of it, where it's like you finally have your life. And really mastering both of those has given me the most joy that I've had in my life.
Yeah, if you change those boundaries, the thing is, it's like she might complain, she respects you for it.
Yeah,
and
right.
You want to lose a woman, lose her respect. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's, she might be mad as hell. You're kicking me out or whatever.
Which I didn't know. I didn't used to know that. I thought if they're mad, they're just going to leave, but it's not necessarily true at all.
But then they'll gravitate back because, it's all these little snowflakes that just fold under the pressure, under the tension of a woman. Then it ain't going to be but a little bit of time before she's gone, because the woman needs a solid anchor, a rock, the masculine. I
dated this woman, gave me such a good lesson in life. I think we talked after it happened, you and I. But she's like, I was 134 days raw. It was like when I took that photo that I showed you, feeling really good, making good money. And the contrast of where I was the year before was really such a profound difference. But I started to get in the relationship, started to get really taken off to work sometimes to go be with her, and having lots of releases and things, and shifting my diet because I'm like, oh, this is like easier right now. We get to bond over it. But then within like a few weeks, I'm just not even myself. And she's sensing that, right? And the thing is, she said to me, she's like, AJ, listen, I might complain about these things because I want you to be around more. I want us to share food, but you need to worry about yourself first, your career, and then me, because without yourself, we can't be together. And I thought that it was just such a clear, responsible adult thing for her to say. I mean, it hurt in a way at the same time, but it was just like so freaking true.
Yeah, that is a very mature, responsible woman, a good woman.
Really good. Yeah.
Realizes what a man should realize.
Yeah.
She did what a man needs to do to be a man.
Right.
Lose that. And now they're putting it all down. Masculinity is toxic. It's like, shut up.
Insanity. I can't stand it.
Yeah, the masculinity is good.
It's like, let's accept everyone, but if you're masculine, you're bad.
Yeah, so it's all
it's all fucked up.
They're the ones, you know, they're the ones that are not going to be able to be, you know, they're the ones that set up the resistance. So, you know, they turn it on and try to make masculinity bad, because the masculinity is the ones that says, here's the line, you just crossed it, I'm coming to chop your head off. Goodbye, yep. You're going to sleep. And we're going to keep coming until you're gone, or you leave our land, or you leave us the F alone, you know? And yep. That's, the women are like, oh no, and the children, oh no, but the man is like, oh, he just, the click, the switch, the samurai sword, the machine gun, the shotgun, the 9mm.
Yep. So, and when you talk with some of these people, whether from the United States, if you compare the United States to Australia or Canada, the women are like, our men don't stand up for us the way that the American guys with the guns and stuff will. And I've talked to some of the guys in the South, because I have family and stuff in Tennessee. And a lot of people from up here were saying, like, what if the, you know, they try to force it onto your kids, you know, what we're talking about. And they're just like, what's with you Yankees and your what ifs? We don't let them do shit. Like, that's the mentality of a real man that we need to have.
Yeah, we are not going to do what you want.
No matter what.
You do it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, people have a lot of, they just don't always get that. It's getting to be more and more snowflakeville.
Yeah.
You know, I'm here. And for me, I'm not going to listen to any of this crap, because it's a low vibration and it's satanic. Really, a lot of what's going on, it's falsehood. They're not here to set you free. They're not here to nurture you back to health.
Yeah, they don't care about your health.
They don't care about your health. They don't care about your finances. They don't care about you, your family. You're a worthless eater to them at those levels of the more optimum underlord controllers, you know. And that's just a level of consciousness that's part of the human consciousness, and you want to be aware of that. So it's really part of you that you want to be aware of am I going to suppress myself and manipulate myself, or am I going to be honest with myself and expand into a higher level of awareness towards freedom? So really, as soon as you handle some of that business in yourself, these external tyrants, you know, the internal tyrant you got to handle, and then the external tyrants are like, I recognize you. You used to be a part of me that held me down, but you're not going to control me because you're a little small, tiny weasel that has no clue of consciousness or anything. You eat Hot Pockets and McDonald's, okay? And you're asleep. You live in the reptile brain, which is very common. And you have no frontal blood flow, so you're not doing any kind of real spiritual work. So you don't know what's best for me. So anyways, it's just wonderful what's happening right now. Everything is expanding very rapidly.
Yeah, and we're having like this shift right now, which has given me a lot more hope. I mean, I've always had hope and things, but we're having some really good signs. And I never really appreciated America and my country as much as I as much as when we started to lose it, when we started to lose our freedoms. And what a profound shift in my consciousness. I didn't know how freaking good we kind of had it.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad all the election stuff, all the pandemic stuff, it's really been a great opportunity for us to. So there's like this divide right now. There are those that are acquiescing to the falsehood and those that are standing up for truth and freedom, you know. And it's an unfortunate division right now, but it is always wise to side with truth because that's going to last. And the spiritual master helps you free yourself. The tyrant wants to control you, you know, and tell you for your own good, we must control every aspect of your life, you know, because life is scary. And the spiritual master will just say, you're going to die. So live now, you know, be alive, be free, set yourself free for forever, you know.
Right. Well, Dan, even though you will admit you don't know everything and you could be wrong about a ton of different things, your desire to share and speak the truth, your truth, is why I always stand behind you. It's why I always support you. And I completely back you as a person, but you in what you're involved in and what you do. And I'm so blessed and happy to be a part of your group, to be able to share with all of the children of light and learn from them as well. I want to thank you for taking me when I was at my most broken and kind of helping facilitate and guide me towards being a healthier, more integral person. I know that I have a lot of amazing things coming my way in my life, but I don't think that there's anyone in my life that has changed my trajectory more than yourself, just your example. And I don't know if there's anyone that ever will, because I just think you're the example that I've always needed. And I wanted to thank you for coming on here, and thank you for being such a uncle or brother to me, and just taking me under your wing and just being such a good person. I respect you on all avenues, the faults and the downfalls and the positives and negatives and everything. And if there's anything that I can ever do to just support you, that's why I'm here. And that's what I want to do. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for taking the time to come on to the podcast. You're a real one, man. I love you.
Hey, thanks, AJ.
Cool. I think that's a great place to close up.
Great to watch your growth.
Thank you.
And I'm really glad that you're a part of my inner circle over there. You make a real big impact over there, managing everything and all that stuff, things I can't do, you know, so I appreciate you taking your time to do that, you know. So.
I love it. And Dan, one of the other things I always get asked, have you met Dan? And I have not met you in person, but we might be able to meet this year, which will be very, very exciting. So if that happens or when it happens,
I think it's cool. Around June.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Maybe at the middle June or late June.
Yeah.
Have the family retreat. What do they call those? The family reunion.
Yeah. It's going to be so wild because all of us have spoken for years on these Zoom calls, but I feel like I know you all so well. It's crazy.
So you and I will get together and set a date for that.
Cool. Yeah.
Set something up for June, and just a weekend thing.
Yeah.
You know, 3 days.
Sounds great, man.
And we'll just party and hike and eat raw foods and chill out, probably in this living room, do a little class or whatever.
It'll be a trip, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to close up now. If you have any closing words or anything to say.
You know, thanks, AJ. I was super mellow today, so, you know, that's okay with everyone. I'm just so mellow lately. I'm not kind of the same excited rejuvenator I used to be, but it's also Pono. And I just see so many, the consults are people struggling and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So as I become less and less into the intellectual data and more about the space, that's just sort of what's happening, you know? And so it's just really about just being centered. And then the people, you know, we're all so crazy, you know, it's so crazy. Like, try to get uncrazy and just take all the weight off of you and all the burdens and, you know, the burden of being somebody, of being important, of your plaques and all your all the just the stuff. It's just strip it away and come to the center where it's like, oh, I don't have to be anybody. I'm not special. I don't have to look a certain way. I don't have to think a certain way. I don't have to fit into any box. I can just be myself and be like, oh, some days I'm lazy and some days I have a lot of energy. Some days I'm really nice. And some days I can be a real jerk. Hope it's okay, you know, and you just can start to just kind of, you know, decompress all of the expectations and tightness. And that's just what I'm doing now, is just unwinding. I think I'll get more and more chill as time goes on, you know, then I'll just be like this dude, like this will be the Zoom call. It'll just, you know.
Yeah, and every breath is enlightening. It's like, yeah, it still feels good.
Yeah, we just got to forgive ourselves and let go and unwind and deep rest. You know, if we're depressed or anxious, we just need to take care of ourselves. I'm telling you right now, I am the king and I am the princess. That's it. And I'm not making any excuses. Some days it's like sleep or massage or, you know, exercise, but it's just try to do the best you can to really just take care of yourself, to, you know, make space to, you know, there's just so much on the schedule, you know, it's just like, open up your schedule and get a nice rhythm going for yourself, where you've got some space in between consults and in between, you know, things, you know, just whenever you can take time to just be and unwind and relax and rest. That's what the world needs more of in this time of tension and stress and division and separation and anxiety and fear. Just really take the time to just relax, you know, and be calm and centered.
Beautiful. I love it, Dan. Thank you so much for coming on the Hungry People podcast. It was such a joy to talk to you. I'm grateful you shared your time. I'm going to really enjoy this green juice afterwards with some herbal blood, get everything primed and good to go and get on with my day. It's snowing outside, so it might be in the snow a little bit, but it's been real, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'll see you probably in like a week or so.
Cool. Sounds good, man.
Okay, bro.
Peace out. For those of you who are just seeing this for the first time, go check out Dan's Patreon group. Come subscribe to the Hungry People podcast, and just know that for the people who are part of the Patreon group, there's a WhatsApp group as well, where it's more text format. WhatsApp, you can get a lot out of that and get to know everybody. Dan, I will see you soon. Take care.
Aloha.